Okay, so hi everyone. We are live and we are going to go live with all the guests in the next 5 minutes. So, till then, I'll just be on hold and we'll meet after 5 minutes. Thank you. Hi, sir. Thank you so much for your time. Good morning.
Very good morning to you and happy International Women's Day to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. And everyone who's joined in and who's taken the time to join in on a Saturday morning, thanks so much. I'll just give you a little bit about a brief about the format that we're following. Okay. So, the format we have today is we've got 7 guest speakers who are going to share for 10 to 12 minutes on each topic about their industry. And post the event, we are not having any networking as such, wherein we'll all meet and ask a few online questions. But if you want to connect to anybody, just drop in your questions. We will take it up right away, or we will connect you to them later on. So thank you so much for joining in. And yes, sir, thanks for your time again. Yep, yep. So,
Well,
sir,
most
okay, done. Everyone who's joined in, feel free to type in your questions. And thank you again for the time. So, sir, my first question to you is,
yeah,
yeah, my first question to you is, can you just tell me a little bit about, your profile and exactly what is it that you do? It's very interesting. You are the General Secretary at the Indian Business Professional Council. You're also the head of finance, CFO at Ajmal Perfume. So give me a little bit of an overview.
yeah, surely. It's first of all my pleasure attending this unique concept, the finance story, and interacting with the audience as well as the professionals, and categorically you on this beautiful day in this morning weekend. About me, I am in Dubai from last 17 years plus. Yeah, I'm a finance professional, chartered accountant of India, as well as I'm chartered accountant from England and Wales. I did my PhD in Islamic finance from United States. So that's how the finance qualification comes in. Uh, I have been with Khimji Ramdas Group in Oman, so backed by Ajmal Perfumes now in UAE as well as globally. So it gives me a good interaction experience and applying the innovations in finance industry, internal control, the management, the ERPs. So we have seen UAE since 2003, and now we are moving to the 2030, and here with Indian Business and Professional Council, as Ajmal Perfumes is one of the founding member of that council since 2003. uh, I am representing them as member, as a golden member, and as you know that Indian Business and Professional Council IBPC is licensed by Dubai Chamber of Commerce to represent the Indian diaspora. uh, our patrons are from Embassy of India in UAE, the Consulate General of India in Dubai and Northern Emirates, as well as the Ambassador of UAE to India are our patrons. And yeah, it is a members apex body, so we do election for every 2 years, and that's where the Secretary General's role is to head the executive committee, and that's how this responsibility as on date is to me. Uh,
Okay, cool. Yes, sir. You were saying something?
no, no, that's it, the
Yeah.
basic.
Yeah, thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for this. Can you tell me a little bit about IBC in terms of business support? So, if I'm a business, I'm an SME, large organization, can I register with IBPC and what kind of support will I get from them?
Yeah, an interesting question that what support will you get and can you become a member? Uh, as I mentioned, IBPC exists for Indian business and professionals. The full form is Indian Business and Professional Council.
Yeah.
Uh, we exist for bilateral relationship as well as that the policy advocacy and largely for the networking event. To become member of IBPC, uh, we go with the due diligence of the people. It's not very open for everyone and anyone to become the member. We have a membership review committee, and then we approve that membership, and that they become the member. For the membership, for SMEs, we have very attractive invitations. They can part of our focus groups. We have different focus groups like for retail, for manufacturing, for technology, for finance, accountants, advisors, technology, as I mentioned, that CSR activities. uh, so it's simple process. They need to just send details to us at our office. A due diligence, simple steps will be done. And the networking is the best benefit, I can say, where any SME or a new entrant to the country can meet. Let's say it's very difficult to meet Mr. Yusuf Ali from Lulu, but in IBPC events, as he's being one of the former governor, or let's say Mr. Ajad Mopan, so
Yeah.
access for anyone, although they are the community leaders, they are very easily accessible, but in a business format, that's where the SMEs can interact with their respective focus group leaders, whether it is jewelry segment, or it is food segment, or it is textile segment, or even the manufacturing side, or the technology stalwarts. It's good to meet, share the experience, and that's how is the automatic support comes in.
Okay, okay, thank you. That's interesting. Okay, so can you give us an overview, of the non-oil sectors that's driving UAE's economic growth, and what do you see in the next 3 to 5 years? Like everyone's excited about the UAE. So what's your thought process on this?
See, the non-oil trade, I will like to take more from the India and the UAE prospect. Yeah.
Yeah,
So non-oil trade, if in UAE, if we see, is all seen that real estate is in the at the forefront, and tourism is at the limelight to the world for UAE or for Dubai categorically.
yeah.
Uh, and that's where the digital economy is taking a new shape from the stage of UAE. But more towards India and UAE. India is the top first export partner in the non-oil trade to UAE. Likewise, uh, UAE is one of the two. UAE versus India. For India, UAE is the third largest. So the relationship of India and UAE with the non-oil trade, where recently we have seen a fantastic growth in after implementation of CEPA. CEPA is the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. 64% growth has been seen in the gems and the precise metals. Likewise, the pharmaceutical industry, the growth in 1 year has been almost 38%. If we go towards the commodities, which has been a conventional trade between UAE and India, including the spices, the rice, the fruit and vegetables, even the electronic goods, a growth is almost 35%. So, where it is a famous proverb that change is the friend. So the change is that gold and jewelries are in the change. Pharmaceutical industry is in the change. Commodities are conventionally increasing, and most consumable goods. The Dubai is known for the electronic hub for the world. So these are the, I can quote, the retail, technology, real estate, pharmaceutical, manufacturing, as well as the always old is gold, and that's how we can come. These are the at the forefront of the non-oil economy.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, when you talk about CEPA, right, what is exactly this, and what has been the impact that you've seen since 2022 in terms of trade and in terms of volume, and especially for India? You've explained us the sectors, but some other dynamics, if you could share.
Yeah, definitely. See, CEPA is one of the landmark agreement which has been done, and more than an agreement, it is a relation between UAE and in India. And
Yeah.
as we say, the full name is Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. And every term has its expanded definition to that. When we go comprehensive, none of the agreements so far has been so comprehensive. You can't believe it is more than 300 pages. An agreement or the MOU of this kind of detailing has never
Yeah.
been in the place between these two countries. So it is so comprehensive, not just limited with the trade, even it is wider towards the services.
Yeah.
Secondly, the partnership is not just the economic partnership, it is a cultural partnership, it is uh, civilization for the mankind. So economy side, if we go, the digital economy is at the forefront, and this is the agreement where a separate chapter has been included. Let's we say that chapter 9, it has uh, digital trade is well defined. Very rarely you will find such type of the definitions, because until COVID, digital trade was never defined.
Yeah.
This is the place where you can see that what digital trade is, how is it being seen by the stalwarts. So the CEPA was signed to boost the relationship between UAE and India, categorically non-oil segment, as your previous question came in. Uh, and if we see that whatever is imported or exported, so in CEPA, it has been a list of the trade and services or tariffs where the custom duty can be minimized or can be nullified. So at the very beginning, when it was signed on 1st of February 2022, oh sorry, 18th of February 2022, we are a very, very closer uh, signing ceremony has been done. This three years are completed, and it was implemented from 1st of May. So the bilateral trade as of that day, it was $60 billion. And the target was taken for the next 5 years, $100 billion. And to take
Yeah.
the progress of that, just to measure the progress, by within 2 years, we have already done 85 billion USD trade. So it's so interestingly welcomed by the people, and category the SMEs, where the export from India to UAE is increased by 27%, and the export from UAE to India is increased by almost 8%. So this is how the summary of C.
Thank you, sir. So my last question for you is, because of SEPA, and because of other factors as well, a lot of Indian companies are setting up base in the UAE. So what is the message you would have for them? Is UAE for everybody? Should everyone start their establishment here? Have you seen this surge in curiosity, like, hey, I want to have my office in Dubai in UAE? What's your thought process?
Dubai is a must place. If we go spiritual, there are the pilgrim places like in India. If you go the Prayagraj, now the Kumbh Mela has been celebrated. So every religious leader will like to have their place, their temple in Prayag. I can say in the global business, Dubai is a place where every stalwart, every business should have their representation. Reason that within 4 hours flight, you can cover 80% consumers of the entire world. And that's the connectivity UAE is providing. By introducing taxation, sometimes people think that the tax has come, the cost is increasing. That's not the case, because the taxation is ultimately on the profit. If you are earning profit, then the taxation is. And this gives a credibility to us that our transactions are aligned well, true and fair views are presented. We are unified with the word, and that's where the statements, the economic activities, what we take forward from UAE are well regarded. The minimum tax is charged, and you are connected for the maximum outcomes, not just limited to UAE and not just limited to GCC or the neighbor countries, but the 80% population of the world is just at 4 hours flight. And
Yep.
the cargo facilities are fantastic. Digital trade, digital economy are the best facility over here. Artificial intelligence, metaverse, you say it, you will get it. D33 is a vision of Dubai leadership, and that's where I think it's the must place for anyone to connect globally.
Cool. So thank you so much. This was amazing and interesting to know, especially your reasons that you said come to Dubai and you explained to us the reason. So thank you so much. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, they could connect with you on LinkedIn or they could write to you. I can also.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm happy to connect on LinkedIn as well as my IBPC email
Yep.
IDs and contact
Yep.
can be shared through you, and we will be happy to serve and invite for the membership whoever you recommend.
Okay, okay, cool. So thank you so much for your time, and everyone who's watching. Thanks a lot for tuning into our first segment. And feel free to connect with Sir. Very warm, very welcoming, and IBPC is amazing. So I'm definitely joining it. I'll get
Thank
access
you.
to some good people. Thank you,
Most
thank you, Sir. Thanks a lot. Take care. Thank you. So I would also like you to meet Devika. She is a champion in family offices, and I know her since 2022. Amazing. So maybe you guys can connect later on offline. Devika has
Certainly,
joined
certainly for
it.
the family offices, we are having an event on 10th at 9 o'clock for Suhoor in Taj Business Bay. So you are most welcome there. And please do a registration, get connected to me. We have a dedicated forum for family offices and wealth management.
Thank you so much. Will be an honor.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Take care. Thank you. I'll just thank you. Devika, thanks a ton for joining in. So, Devika, everyone's super excited to hear you speak because the first question that everyone talks about UAE and Dubai is like, hey, ultra high net worth individuals have soared, have surged. Family offices have increased. I actually have some stats for all of you who are watching. So basically. Devika is the founder of DR Partners. We'll come to that a little later. It's a boutique corporate advisory wealth structuring firm. They're not into helping you to manage your wealth, but they're a wealth structuring firm for family offices, corporates, and startups. Right. So I have some stats over here. It says that UAE stood 14th in terms of the richest people living here. Right. Out of 15, it was number 14. 100,000 millionaires, 20 millionaires, billionaires. The growth is almost 77%. Now, DIFC hosts almost 120 plus family offices. This is the stats of 2023. So it's a lot more now. 800 related structures and controlling more than 1.2 trillion, which could be a lot more. So, Devika, over to you. Tell us about DR Partners. What is it that you're seeing, and why is the space, getting so excited? Why is everyone looking at the buy for family offices? Why we see a surge in high net worth individuals, ultra high net worth individuals? Beyond the infrastructure and the basic tax policies that I have. Over to you.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, thank you for having me on this webinar. Quite exciting.
Thank
And
you.
the fact that you've chosen the Women's Day. So, first and foremost, a happy Women's Day to you, as well as all the other speakers and audience who have joined us, taken time out on a Saturday. It's a pleasure and an honor.
Thank
Um,
you.
Going back to your question, I think the
Yeah.
stats say it all as to why UAE. And before we deep dive into that, a quick
Yeah.
introduction about DR Partners. Like to call ourselves a COVID baby because the firm was launched right during pandemic or as UAE was emerging out of pandemic. And I think
Yeah.
one of the prime reasons why I chose the entrepreneurial path and decided to set up DR Partners was purely because there was private wealth, like the numbers that you mentioned right
Yep.
now, um,
Yep.
showed there was the way the country had managed the entire pandemic situation, families actually wanting to take a flight just to get the vaccination at that point of time. It
Yep.
seemed a bit bizarre and crazy, but that's what this country did. And that clearly reflects how families, family offices, what they look for. They look for innovation, technology to be able to be agile, make things done and get things done. And that is what I believe is one of the core fundamental principles of success for this country. But specifically to your question about
Yep.
how we go about advising families. So for us, our core area of expertise, like you rightly pointed out, we cater to both private as well as corporate clients, private being the families, family offices, because the wealth can be quite a widespread, as well as
Yep.
startups multinational. There is quite obvious a rush to come into UAE, so there needs to be adequate market entry strategy. So for us, the start point is to try and understand what either of these groups require, devise a strategy for them, help them with their licensing. Now, licensing could be very complicated in this part of the world, especially UAE, with so many jurisdictions and free zones, etc. And it's a bit tricky because there's so much information. Dr. Chaturvedi mentioned it's digital, the buy that we're looking at, and it can actually be quite overwhelming for somebody who's coming into this country for the first time, trying to look at options. So we devise a strategy, help them with their licensing, and ensure for family offices, right from a setup to like you rightly pointed out, we don't do wealth management, but from a family office setup to advisory, the succession planning, the legal, tax, corporate aspects, governance, all of that is taken care of. So including immigration solutions. So we try and provide a one-stop shop solution for families coming into the region from a preservation and passing on structure. Now, with regards to why UAE, let's break it into two parts. So one is the traditional families that have been here. It could be NRIs, it could be Pakistani families, Chinese, across. There have been several diaspora. There's a mixed diaspora out here. And there are, of course, those who are coming into this region. So those who are coming into this region, they could have different factors which triggers looking at UAE as an option. So one is if it is the principal and the family or the business owners wanting to relocate. Quite obvious, they look at a cosmopolitan, tax efficient, a much, like Dr. Chaturvedi mentioned, a religious tolerant country, which provides you an ease for transition and settlement. And this is a conversation that we have on a regular basis with families who are wanting to move. On the other hand, the moment you talk about family offices, for them, it's like, okay, they are in a particular jurisdiction currently, and the next generation, which is the trend being next generation getting evolved in the family office operations or wanting to manage family operations, they look at jurisdiction diversification. When you look at jurisdiction diversification, if I was to talk about India as a jurisdiction, you have limitations of, you might have ample opportunities within India, but then if you intend to, say, for example, take an exposure in US or dollar denominated investments, there are restrictions. Your Forex kind of becomes a bit of a tricky situation for you because of the exchange conditions you are capped. So families look at saying that, okay, let's move into another jurisdiction where we have an ecosystem. And what do you mean by ecosystem? You've got private bankers, you've got advisors, you've got n number of how do I put it, a robust ecosystem which provides n number of opportunities for your deploying capital. And today, what's happening is the trend is that the families want to manage wealth themselves. Gone are the days when you want to look at a JP Morgan managing it. They're like, why not we do it ourselves? So the single family owners are very comfortable with, say, having so many opportunities or options, which could be a DIFC and ADGM, for the larger families. And why so? Because they're looking at a stable jurisdiction. They're looking at co-investment opportunities. If you're talking about co-investment opportunities, then you would need to be in a regulated jurisdiction, and both DIFC and ADGM provide that. On the other hand, if it is a smaller family, because quite obvious, family office, as you know, it's a very broad term, and we also cater to the size of family offices who are just starting off on this journey. Then you have got alternative options. You've got World Trade Center, Dubai World Trade Center as a jurisdiction, which provides a specific license. So you want to come in, start small, and upgrade to a bigger, more sophisticated structure. You have it all here. So let me just pause on that. But then, of course, there are factors that goes in.
Amazing. So well answered. Okay, so I have these two follow-up questions for you. So prior to Dubai or UAE, where would family offices primarily look at outside, say, of India, if you're talking about Indian families? That's one. And okay, you can probably take this one and then I'll go ahead.
So there is a huge shift which has happened, and which is what I've experienced starting onto this journey from mid 2000. Families looked at tax havens to house their investments. They were personal investment companies, they were family trusts, which were in some
Yep.
tax haven that you could just point out on a map. Not many people would have even gone there, but those were
Yep.
satellite operations. Slowly, families started realizing that there were certain drivers to say, okay, fine, because of the regulatory aspects, you could just go into a particular jurisdiction because that's what was required. So Singapore was another example, especially when it comes to Indian families that you could look at. The third was families had a diverse distribution. So there was wealth distributed and being managed in those respective jurisdictions. So it wasn't very structured.
Okay. And any particular policies that UAE has introduced in the last few years or in the recent times that has kind of created this, conducive environment? Any particular policy? Even the Dubai Chambers is focusing on family offices. They have a separate segment as well for that. So anything policy-wise?
I would say, as a lawyer, we need to be, and that's what I keep telling my team, we need to be abreast, because I think UAE is one of those countries which keeps coming up with very progressive regulatory announcements and framework. So yes, there have been multiple sporadic developments which has happened. One is with regards to the DIFC launching their family arrangements. Going back to your question, the Dubai Chamber has established the family office arrangement and an entire body for that. All of this put together is trying to focus and give comfort, confidence, and train families, either the existing ones or the ones who are coming in to the country, to make sure they are scalable, they are sustainable, and they are able to operate efficiently. So that is one of the most important. Now, when it comes to specific regulatory frameworks, the foundations regime which has been introduced, which families are quite comfortable, because previously there was always a paranoia. Will I be governed by Sharia? What happens? Say, for example, I've got my children, and do I come in? Does the guardianship going to change? What will there be an asset protection angle that my business can avail? Will there be a taxation angle? Because previously there was a confusion, because families who were doing family investment or had family investment vehicles, till December last year, there was a confusion whether these investment vehicles as well, because of the corporate tax regime, will be subjected to a 9% tax. And as an advisor, there was a flurry in the market, I can tell you that. Everybody was concerned. They were looking at moving out, having their place of effective management elsewhere. So all of that now has been put to ease and put to rest. The dust is starting to settle. So that's one with regards to the enhanced foundation regime. Local regulations, which says that you will be governed by your own personal laws of succession. That is giving a lot of confidence. So there was a time when families or expats who live in this country did buy wills, and there was a concern whether the wishes of the testator, that is the person who is deceased and who has drawn up the will that actually be respected, or will there be a Sharia issue? And we face those situations wherein there is a will, however, the distribution of estate went not as per the will. So that's the second part. It's giving how do I put it? Giving a comfort to families. Building on that, Muslims who are non-Emiratis have a provision. So that's another framework which has been brought in. And as a woman entrepreneur, as a woman who advocates governance, because this is what we do with most of the family offices, emphasize in governance. And the fact that I was an independent director of a listed company myself, one of the major concerns I had was that this country was not giving enough opportunity for women to be making a board representation. So even in the financial services industry, and Chantal, you would have seen that. And I thought it was relevant today to be talking about it, especially because it's a women. The public joint companies have now been required or requested to have a female board member. That's a great step. Like, how effective is it going to be? I think it has to be a combined effort from all of our sides. So that's the, and of course the Dubai Chambers, which is trying to attract local families to say, come in, we're there to help you out. We'll guide the next generation. We'll train advisors like me who can in turn pass on those good practices across to you.
Thank you, Devika. So well explained. So that's why I kind of understand right now, because earlier, when I would talk to a few high net worth individuals over here, they would pass on to Mauritius. They would be looking at Mauritius and countries like this. Now they have the UAE, because it was always scared about the will part, the way you mentioned, right? What happens if something happens? Okay, so the laws and regulations have fine-tuned to support this entire ecosystem, from what I understand. And that's the reason for family offices and ultra high net worth individuals setting up offices here. That's as simple as that.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I have these two questions. Bhavesh has joined in. Bhavesh, I'll add you in. Devika, what are the inhibitions, or what, as you say, the questions that these folks ask you? I'm not talking only about the large family offices. As you said, people with a couple of millions, or even less than that, can start something, or they can set up a base to manage their wealth, right? So what are the typical questions or the fears that they have? Hey, what if this happens? Like one or two of them, if you're comfortable sharing.
So one of the major challenges that I get to face is the political situation of this country. Is the wealth safe? Do we want to house, while yes, the regulatory framework is robust, is our money safe? Ultimately, that's what family offices want to know. So yes, that's a major concern. And I think that's why families are still warming up to the idea. While they move the structures, the money is still, the booking center could be a Singapore or a Switzerland. So I think we have a long way to go when it comes to giving that comfort, and it will come over a period of time. So that's one of the primary concerns that I feel.
Okay, sounds good. And I wanted to really ask you this. What are you most excited about in this space? What is it Devika is looking, because of DR partners and individually as well, in the next 3 to 5 years?
Looking for more private wealth coming into, and family offices coming into the region, giving us an opportunity, because I started off my career doing literally the same overseas, like you said, Mauritius, BVI, Cayman, etc. But now it's a great opportunity to do it. It's more of a homecoming for us. So more families coming in, more of advanced alternative investment opportunities coming in, which is very challenging. Like I said, I like to be on top of the regulatory framework. Then can we advise families?
Amazing. When you're talking about family offices, ultra high net worth individuals, right? These are they're relationship driven, right? You can't just say, hey, you know what? You can't just put a Google ad and they select you. It's very relationship driven. So how do you develop this relationship? That's one. And how competitive is this space? Like every wealth management firm is trying to make their mark here. Okay, advisory firm, wealth management firm. So if you could take this.
Choosing advisors, like you said, it can't be a Google ad. So most of our success stories have been referrals, and that's the best part of family offices. It's close-knit community. So if there's a family office that's come in, they're comfortable with you, they build that relationship, they develop trust, of course, over a period of time and multiple engagements. So for us, you can see us doing many marketing events. We don't have a marketing campaign as such. So we only try and create knowledge and try and put content out. However, it's mostly referrals and good relationship with network partner that really work. Like you said, that's the best part about, or the positive aspect of this country, is that you will have private bankers, wealth managers, and all of them put together trying to educate families about the importance of governance, legacy planning. So there's an awareness generation, not only at our end as a wealth structuring specialist, but also with our peers from the industry. So that ecosystem and working together makes it much more easier for us. And yes, it is very competitive, gets very difficult for us to actually try and accommodate family offices requirements, because we still are not as sophisticated a market like London or the US, where families actually value your billables. So there's a bit of a challenge there. But I think it just depends on the quality of service, the client attention, understanding what the family or the principal or the family office wants, and giving the right solution.
Okay, that's amazing. So building a network, and I'm sure it's a long process. Everyone has their questions, so it goes back and forth. It can take months to have someone actually, get convinced that, hey, this is the space. So patience is key. Also, I have this question for you. We have a lot of CA firms, a lot of CFOs, a lot of chartered accountants, in the finance space, who would like to be a part of this industry? Of course, not as an advisor, but as providing ancillary services. What, because of the rise in family offices, funds over here, venture capital fund and hedge funds, what opportunities do you see for finance guys or CFOs?
So I think now CA is broad, so let's break it into parts, and I can only talk about my personal experience. So previously, UAE had a very laid back process. Accounting was not. So I'm starting from the basic. Was not a requirement, but it is the case. Compliances are growing in requirement as far as free zones, mainland, or even the offshores are concerned. So at every aspect, and there's a lot of advisory that has to advice that has to go around, which I believe a CA firm can definitely bring value add to. Because I personally, my firm DR Partners works quite closely with accounting firms, because you might need to create simple things like creating a source of wealth. So their advice with regards to how the business has been, what has to be done, including tax advisory part, how do we go about restructuring the VAT component, the corporate tax, the entire restructuring, which is what has kept us busy. All the families understand one firm cannot do it all. So as a legal practitioner, I have to work with chartered accounting firms, and which is what we do, where they bring in their expertise. So I think there is a growing demand for CA practice in this industry.
Yep, amazing. And you must be also working with a lot of CFOs handling, the wealth of family offices and the ultra high net worth individuals. So I think that's part of that's something that you do on a continuous basis as well. So yes, so cool. You want to say something?
No, I was just saying exactly, because when we do family constitutions as well in this in UAE, it's the first set of discussions which happens with the principal, and then on it's mostly a communication with the CIOs, the CFOs, because they are the ones who've been with the family for a long time, and they get a pulse of it. So which helps us as advisors to come up with what is the best governance document for the family, in addition to the investments part and how to structure wealth and so on.
Yep. Thank you. So Devika, this was spot on, because we have with us Bhavesh. So Bhavesh is the CFO at the Total Office. He will tell us a little bit about the Total Office as well, but you guys should connect. So Bhavesh has a unique story. Apart from his work profile, he helps, I guess, some 500 plus CAs. He's got them to Dubai by telling them, you know what, CA, India, Dubai is the place. He sees the future very brightly for Dubai. So you guys should connect. And that's about it. And anyone who's watching this, if you want to connect with Devika or you want to attend, they host a couple of networking events as well, I guess, to add value to the community. Please join in. And that's from us. So thanks a ton, Devika. And Bhavesh and Devika meet each other and do connect. Yeah,
sure.
Thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
Thanks a ton, Devika, and happy Women's Day. Thank you. See you.
See you. Thank you.
Hi, Bhavesh. Thank you. I guess I made you wait for 8 minutes. Am I audible? I can't hear you, Bhavesh. Thank you. But
Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, I was in mute. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you.
And yes, I can hear you.
No. Thank you, Bhavesh. I've known you for so long. You were one of the first people who called me up and said, hey, you're in Dubai, okay. And, explained to me exactly what's DIFC, what's ADGM. And you've got a huge fan following. So thanks for the time. So Bhavesh, my first question for you is, first of all, tell us a little bit about your current organization. Why did you choose like a promoter-led business instead of, the typical companies where you would have, again, just walked through, be it funds or government-based organizations? Why is promoter-led business for you?
So I had 9 years of experience before I joined Total Office. And I was looking for somebody where I feel cultural fit, a right mix. So when I was looking for a job, I was talking to one of the multinational bank. I was talking to one of the Dubai real estate company. And at the same time, I met Siddharth, my current managing director. And, when I met Siddharth, my mind was very clear that this is the person I would love to work with. The approach was collaborative, very respectful, very open-minded. And this is what I was pretty much looking for. So that was
Yeah.
first part of it. On promoter-led business, I tell a lot of my CA friends that the fun is that promoter-led business do not judge you too much on technicals. They want you to be business partners. They
Yep.
want like technically you're a finance partner. You bring your business acumen on table and help them grow. So they take care of sales or marketing or operations, whichever is their domain, and you have equal
Yep.
partnership. Technically, you are running the business, and there's fun to
Yep.
it. Like anybody who wants to become entrepreneur or anybody
Hmm.
who likes to run independently, like you want to show your value creation is also
Yep.
very direct and apparent. There is no middle layers of professional management or processes in between. So if you are value driven, these are the best place to be in. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks, Bhavesh. So when you talk about promoter-led business, the first question is, of course, the points that you mentioned are spot on. But do they really pay well? Do they compensate as per, say, another larger conglomerate? How does it work? If you're okay to share.
Yeah, sure. So way I have experienced uh, in a multinational or in a government organization, there are
Yeah.
slabs. In promoter, everything is their assessment of what you will bring on table. So if they think you will bring 100,000 a month, or maybe you're worth 100,000 a month, they will pay 100,000 a month. So it's very much
Yeah.
what you can show them in your first interactions, what you can
Yep.
bring on table, and pretty much then you have to consistently develop it, both in terms of trust, in terms of synchronizing with their overall risk appetite,
Yep.
overall philosophy, like management
Yep.
philosophy. So if you can do that, there is no limit to remuneration for sure.
Okay. Okay. Just saying that. Cool. Thanks, Bhavesh. I was just texting in the group. So
Yeah, sure.
we have some questions. Okay, so that is very interesting. So, Bhavesh, would you want to tell me a little bit about the total office as well? You have seen VAT, you have seen corporate tax, you have seen everything evolve. When there was no tax, you were in the buy, and now we've got a heap load of tax and regulations, though very friendly. So one on that, what is total office exactly? What's your industry into? How have you seen it evolve in the last few years? What has been everyone's talking about Dubai is the best place to be in. So what has been the impact of this entire growth and the Dubai story?
So Total Office predominantly is a office furniture company. So we do offices
Yeah.
of likes of Google or Microsoft or LinkedIn or Schlumberger or say
Yep.
Sedcos and so on. So any
Yep.
company which has large corporate oil and gas or banking, we are one of the prospective supplier. Uh,
Yep.
we have been here for 27 years, so there's a long legacy and a proven satisfied customer.
Yep.
Very delighted customers who have been with us for long. So with all that, we are mainly a office furniture company. Of late, we have ventured a little bit into hospitality. We have ventured a little bit into education. So yes, there is little bit of diversification now compared to any time in past. We had a very small joinery which has now evolved into a full-fledged manufacturing facility. We are moving from one shift to two shifts and three shifts because the demand is very high. Especially when I came here, 2014-15, they were the peak years. 16, real estate started growing little less. So with that, there are growth challenges. But of late, government spending is huge, real estate demand is huge, and with that, furniture industry thrives well. So yeah, it's growing fast. We are putting up YOY 15 to 20% in last post COVID. Like even in a COVID year, we were 20% up. So yeah, amazing place to be in. We ventured into Saudi, where we are getting super traction. Saudi is such a big
Amazing.
market that in 3 to 4 years we can do what we're doing in Dubai. So yeah, growing fast enough. Uh,
Okay. Bhavesh, I have to ask you this question. What are the sectors that you see which is really growing? It could be, it could be manufacturing, it could be the service sector, it could also be emerging sectors. What are your thoughts? I have to ask you this question, especially you, because you have the pulse on the market. So what do you think?
So yes, first of all, as Devika said, family offices have already set up, and they have done fabulous job on bringing right regulatory setup in DIFC and ADGM both. I could not
Yep.
believe 3 to 4 years back the traction which we are having today in terms of
Yep.
funds moving in, people moving from Europe where the slowness has set in, or people moving from Singapore where structures are getting a little bit more stricter, or maybe
Yep.
compliances are getting higher. Dubai knows what is the right set of regulatory framework, which makes it
Yep.
smooth both for businesses and government to grow the industry. So, family offices and wealth management businesses thriving surely at a very fast pace. You see always the numbers of 6,700 HNIs moving, millionaires HNI moving to
Yep.
Dubai every year, and so on. So that is one sector. Obviously, when a millionaire, billionaire, or wealthy person comes in, he sets up a business, he
Yep.
buys a real estate. So real estate is already growing at a pace which is fabulous. Like last few years has been super. Now that supply is coming in, it will not grow at that faster pace, but still there is a
Yep.
growth available. Um, with golden visa, they made a regulation right for people to stabilize, like people to move into this country. There's a non-dom tax situation in UK which brings a lot of HNIs. So yeah, a lot of people are moving in. Obviously onshoring is the theme of uh,
Yep.
entire world. So
Yep.
UAE also is trying to manufacture. People want their data to be in their own country, so data centers are booming.
Yep.
Sustainability is coming in some way, so we see some tractions on solar and other things. So yeah, almost UAE is a place where almost every industry is growing. Tourism is one of the key growth driver in this economy. So real estate, tourism, wealth management, and manufacturing, all this will grow for some time to come. Infrastructure is getting laid at a pace which is unheard of. We are having Etihad rail
Yep.
project, where roads
Yep.
are getting extended all over the country. Connectivity is next level. Dubai government was always proactive and aggressive in taking
Yep.
infrastructure much ahead of time. Very small blips we see where we feel that we are cramped a little bit, and we feel today a little bit on the roads, but they are working very hard on it. I think metro lines will come in, Etihad rail will come in. So infrastructure, government infrastructure spending is the growth driver for sure. Obviously, corporate tax will come in, and government have much higher revenues to spend. All those is firing on all engines almost.
Thank you, Bhavish. Bhavish, we have this question from Itisha. Zarna, thank you. I'm just going to add you in. Itisha says, thanks, Bhavish, for the insights. Like you said, working with a promoter-led business requires a much more business partner acumen rather than just having technical skills. So how do you think CAs can transition to such promoter-led companies, and what's your advice?
So what first thing is have a little bit of patience. Like you have to first understand before you want to impose your knowledge on anybody. So when I joined, I wanted to understand everything, what everybody is doing in the organization, what is their mindset, and meeting by meeting, you can always check whether they want a certain thing or not. Even if you feel it is compelling, yes, and logically strong, you have to allow people to take their judgments. Especially promoter has their judgment on risk appetites, on leverages, on whether it makes a strategic sense for them or not.
Yep.
So you have to take these inputs from them and then devise a strategy which works for them. We are here to serve the promoter's overall goal rather than drive entire thing. Eventually you end up driving higher value by taking them on board, and that trust formation takes some time. Like a lot of my friends come in and they say that, I'm not very comfortable, it's frustrating with the promoter driven business, they don't understand. But my point is, if you understand them and then devise a strategy, and they start thinking that they are eventually part of the entire strategy, it is much
Yep.
easier to drive the growth, value
Thank you.
growth, organizations, and so on.
Okay, so Itisha, I hope that helps. And everyone who's watching, feel free to type in your questions. We'll try taking it now or later, but thanks for watching in. Okay, so Bhavesh, let's talk about what has been the most challenging thing of working with a promoter-led business, which you had to learn on the go.
So very honestly, I did not had much of challenge because I have super absolutely fun promoters. But I have some experience from my past where promoters were different nationality, different mindsets, and there is no congruence of thoughts between themselves. They have very drastically divided approach on. There can be a situation where promoter is the son and father, and they are generation apart, and there can be a challenge.
Yeah.
For me, I deal with people who are absolutely my age. They're very open-minded. They're very receptive. So I don't face that challenge. But I hear this lot from my friends saying that, two promoters don't set in and power dynamics play it. And because of that, it becomes sometimes do something consistently, because flip-flop is something
Yep.
which doesn't help in business. Like if you are running a
Yep.
venture and if strategy gets a flip-flop, so I spend a lot of time getting a buy-in. So I introduce an idea, persistently discuss what are the benefits over a few meetings, and then agree
Yep.
on something. And once we have agreed, then action goes in full swing. But if you try to start acting on something which you feel is apt, or which one of the promoter has, stakeholders management is the key here, right?
Yep.
And there can be more than 1, 2, 3 stakeholders, and each stakeholder can be different. Um, they can have different reasons for being part of it,
Yep.
different mindsets and stuff. So you
Yeah.
need to manage that well.
Okay. High EQ and understanding is important also from what you say. Okay. Cool. Bhavesh, my last question for you is, what are the hiring trends and what are your views on SMEs? Like there has been a lot of reports that SMEs are going to touch 1 million plus. Like what's your thoughts?
So yeah, first of all, every business to be so previously way UAE is evolved. When you came, especially Chantal, it was sales-driven organizations, right? A promoter is a salesperson moved out of some business and start selling, and then start setting up the finance, right? Maybe they need bank finance, then they will do audit. Otherwise, there was no bank audit required, and other stuff. Now there is a lot of regulation, right? VAT is there, corporate tax is there, everything has to match with customs, because regulators are checking everything. AML is big, and so on. Like UBO, other regulations are on it. So now you need a proper finance partner. Without proper finance partner, you might go 1, 2, 3 years till you get into some regulatory challenge, and you might not last longer. So every business needs a solid finance partner to
Yep.
run the show. So there is huge demand. It's just reaching out to this SMEs, right person who is hiring is little bit of a challenge. And that's why how fast you can reach the market, quicker
Yep.
it is. But once you reach the right person in the organization,
Yep.
interviews are very fast. Like I had almost 1.5 hours between my interview and my offer
Yep.
in this role, and it is only single round of interview, 1.5 hours, but single round of interview. An interview also
Yep.
is more of a discussion. They don't ask you IFRS, they don't ask you other things. They ask you, can you do it? What's your strategy? What's your mindset? And pretty much you are selected. So I
Yep.
believe it's much easier to get in if you reach the right people. The recruitment process is very fast, and if you build trust and do the first initial 6-12 months right, then you become almost an integral part of the organization. Like they don't have mindset of they can wait. They don't have that month on month or quarter on quarter approach, because they have seen you creating value directly. So your
Yep.
appraisals don't matter, nothing else matters. Once you're
Yep.
part of them, you're part of them for life if you don't leave.
Yep. Yep. Cool. Bhavesh, thank you so much. We have a ton of questions for you. But everyone who has similar questions like me and who wants to connect with Bhavesh, one of the warmest people, he will answer your call even at 10 in the night if you have a question. And if you want to be motivated in when you're not when finding challenges and moving to Dubai, it's Bhavesh. He'll say you have to be here, and you will. It's amazing. Just connect with Bhavesh. And Bhavesh, thanks a ton for the time. Thank you for doing so much for me as well. And I met Jarna because of you, so thank you. And yep, that's from me. So thank you. Thanks,
Most
Bhavesh.
welcome, Chantal. Yeah.
Thank you, Bhavesh. See you.
Over
Thank you.
over to you. Bye. Sir.
And you can meet Jarna. Jarna can meet Bhavesh. So yeah.
Hi, Bhavesh. Pleasure listening to you.
Same here, ma'am. I'll be happy
Thank
to
you.
listen to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhavesh. Zarna, thanks a ton for joining in, and sorry for keeping you waiting. We are behind schedule by 5 to 7 minutes. So thank you. Cool, Zarna. I'm super excited to be speaking with you because you're somebody who's working in crypto space technically. or let's say in the startup ecosystem for quite some time, earlier with Udrive and right now with BitOasis, and you also had other stints there, right? You were also with Pepsi and you took a career break. So that's for another time. But can you tell us about what is exactly happening in the startup ecosystem, not the crypto, what's happening in the startup ecosystem, and why did you choose startups? Why not promoter-led businesses? Why not MNCs? What are you looking at?
Awesome. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me here. It is always pleasure talking to you. There's so many insights that I pick up while we are conversing. So I'm looking forward to a lot of learning for myself.
Thank
Talking
you.
about startup space, I would just say that maybe I have experimented with my career quite a bit. Maybe
Yep.
not all the time you succeed, but I have learned so much in
Yep.
the process that I
Yep.
think it gives me an edge over a lot of other professionals who have been in a traditional journey. Startup
Yep.
space excited me because uh, there is lots that you can impact, and I've always been a person who likes to create an impact. I started
Yep.
my journey with Coca-Cola, not Pepsi, but yeah, that's okay. But
Sorry. Sorry. Yes.
yeah, Coca-Cola, and I worked there for some time. I worked with big, large organizations, and I just realized that my impact was very limited in the area or the domain expertise that I had. And
Yep.
as I switched over, started working with founders while I was consulting, I realized that there was so much that I could bridge as an gap between their business understanding and how it needs to get implemented, and how you could, as a finance business partner, support the
Yep.
business, strategically and financially, how you could support them. And this is what maybe excited me about the startup space.
Yep.
And
Yep.
the company that I'm working with now really cannot be said as startup because it's been here for a long time. But again, it's a very new industry. So although the company is old, but the industry is still shaping up, forming. So yes, again, lots to learn and lots to. I would just like to give a disclaimer that whatever I share today, this is the very first time I'm going to be talking about this industry per se, because I myself am learning. What I
Yep.
realized in life is the best way to pick up anything or learn or understand anything is just jump into it. So I jumped into this industry, and I have explored and experimented, heard and learned a lot. So yeah, I'm here. So if at all I fumble, I apologize in advance.
No, it's all cool. Zarna, you're one of the most amazing speakers I've come across. So, Zarna, okay, this is a very interesting point that you made. So, I assume that you loved the crypto segment, you understood it in and out, and that's the reason why you chose, this industry. And when you talk about Dubai, there's a lot of regulation, there's a lot of crypto, Bitcoin companies setting base over here. So, tell us, why did you choose this industry? What are you looking at? Is it the future? How is it?
Awesome. So let me first of all say that it's not like I chose this industry because I knew in and out. Like I said, I wanted to figure out for myself, because I do see this as a future, right? And I
Yeah.
do see that there is a lot of potential. People are talking about it. Most of us, like even including me, before being a part of this industry or closely associating with people who are part of this industry, the only thing that I knew about is that cryptocurrencies may be asset class, just like we have real estate and just like we have gold. We have one more asset class where you can park your excess funds, and then it maybe appreciates and you make a lot of money. This was the limited knowledge that I had until I
Yeah.
really jumped and learned a little bit more in advance. And what I realized is there is a huge industry. This is an infrastructure. Basically, we're talking about blockchain, we're talking about Web3. It's an infrastructure which is going to transform the way we do the business. So if I can go a little bit detail here, Chantel, we all maybe have experienced during our life. There was nothing called as internet, and then internet came in. That was basically the
Yep.
world of Web 1,
Yep.
where there were websites we could go, we could take data from there, right? So it was very static information or data that was available. We could just Google it, right? And that is how most of, probably not even Google at that time, but there were websites where we could go, right? And over a period of time,
Yep.
this industry really grew. And then we came across something called as Web 2, which is basically your Facebooks and Insta and a lot more other social media platforms, including LinkedIn, right? So what they
Yep.
did, they basically moved the static websites to something which became interactive. So we started adding value to it, right? And that is how it transformed. And you see today, from 2000 maybe 4, 5 to now, in 20 years, this industry has disrupted everything the way we do the business, right? What has happened today due to this technology is that we all have started creating content. There have been a lot of data points created all around the world. And then the advent of big data and real-time data analytics and cloud computing. And today, maybe sitting at home, there is someone who's tracking your life. I don't know if you've seen this show, the Truman series, yeah, right? So it's similar to that, right? Because you become a part and parcel of this big infrastructure where everything that you do is basically captured. Yeah. And that is the second wave. And that has transformed. So I know exactly if I need, at what time, the company knows, whether it is Uber knows what time I need a car, where will I be going, so you track, right? So Web 2. And now what is happening is we are entering into a world of Web 3. I don't know, most of us might have heard, not getting too much into technical details of it, but Web 3 is going to be it's going to bring about a predominant change in the finance industry. And that's what interests me a lot more, right? So here, what's happening, of course, Bitcoin came in, people started noticing blockchain technology since then. But what is Web3 doing is based on this blockchain technology, building infrastructure, products, solutions, which are decentralizing I would say the data, decentralizing the way we share information. So it is going to build up new products. Just imagine you want to maybe take a loan, right? Someone has excess money, they want to earn interest on that loan. Today, we need an intermediary. We need a bank where we save our money and then they give that money to someone else and earn money out of it, right? Earn interest out of it. Imagine a world where all of this will be autonomous, will be centralized, where you and me can just directly go on the platform and can do it without having an intermediary. This is the world we are entering into, and that is what Web3 or blockchain is going to provide to us. So this is what really excites me, that the world is moving to a scenario where there will be maybe less and less of intermediaries while two people are transacting.
So well explained. So basically, it's just not crypto, it's the world of Web3, and crypto is just a part of it. It's one part of it.
So crypto is basically the fuel that runs this engine. So let me put it this way. Let's say Ethereum. So these are all blockchains, right? So the products are built on these blockchains. They use this technology. So these blockchains basically provide a framework based on which all the products are built. So new apps are being built on these blockchains, right? And how do you pay for this? So you are using it in the real world. In today's world, we pay through fiat currency, right? Any technology that we are using, we use dollars and dirhams, and right? In the future world, these tokens or the currencies, okay, they are going to be used. And this is how the utility of these cryptocurrencies is going to come into play. Most of us think that, like, even when I did not know much about it, I was like, I understand people trade shares and there is an inherent value in it. I don't know what is it that is inherent of a cryptocurrency, right? Like, how is the value going up and down? And this is what I realized, that every blockchain comes out with their own cryptocurrency. Of course, there may be many which don't have anything behind it, and that's like over a period of time, they will phase out. But the tokens which will start, or the coins that will start generating real value, is because they will have apps or products which are built based on that technology. And the only way you pay for that blockchain are going to be these tokens. So that's how the cryptocurrency industry is going to grow and is going to reach at a place where that will be an alternative exchange of value.
Okay, thank you for this. No, you explained really well. Yusuf, thanks for joining in. I'll just take 5 more minutes. We're running a little behind schedule, right? Okay, so I have this question for you. So as you well explained, you said there are some tokens or some currencies which will phase out. So what are the regulations? Because when we watch a lot of these Netflix series, or there's something known as rug pulling, and there's so many things that's happening, right? So what are the regulations that UAE has to safeguard this as well? And your thoughts? I know it's evolving, but your thoughts?
Trust me, UAE is a leader in its own way, while the entire world is still contemplating to have regulations and figure out what needs to be there in place. UAE has not only, so first of all, what UAE has done is itself imbibe the blockchain technology in a lot of their projects. So most of the new projects that are coming up, they planned this maybe about 5 to 8 years back, and they are already on the blockchain technology. So they are way ahead and they understand the potential of this technology. Their target is very clear. By 2030, they want to be the Silicon Valley of this technology of the world, right? So they are leading in a very, I would say that very optimist way. Now talking about understanding that they have come out with, so what they realized is, yes, this industry will take time to evolve and for people to accept, but they, instead of contemplating what needs to be done with this, whether it will grow or not, what they did is they set up a framework within which the VAS providers or virtual assets service providers and the exchanges and all of them can operate. What has happened with that is today we have an ADGM, which is Abu Dhabi Global Market. They have their own regulations. In Dubai, we have VARA, who have their own regulations. We have in RAC, they have come out with RAC DAO. So they have come up with their own regulation. They've given a framework within which you operate. Also, there are a lot of bad elements. To avoid that, they have put up a very stringent KYC norms, basically to understand where the money is coming on, so that they are very clear that the money is not coming from or being used for any wrong purposes. Secondly, they have set up AML regulations very strongly in UAE, and we can hear about it everywhere, right? So they have set up that. I work very close. I mean, we do work as a company very closely with VARA. We are regulated by VARA. So I know the kind of requirements they expect us to maintain, so that we ensure that we are not marketing anything which is like, wrong product, or we are not doing any unnecessary profits out of customer assets. So we have very strong compliance requirements in terms of how you maintain, ensuring that the reserves are maintained for the amount that you are owing to the customer. So basically, there are compliances that they've already put into place, which makes UAE a very, like a welcoming place for a lot of people. Basically, the entrepreneurs who are operating in this space, the tech people who want to build products based on this. Most efficiently, what they have done is also they have made it completely tax free, which means if you're buying and selling crypto, there is no tax on it. If you are making gains out of the buying and selling of the crypto, you are not taxed any capital gain tax. And so this basically is a kind of encouraging and evolving landscape where we have kept on updating the requirements and norms, so that it's a safe space for people operating in this industry.
Okay, cool. So well explained. Thank you, Jarna. I have this one last question for you is like, what for all the finance people who are watching, or CFAs and CPAs, chartered accountants, okay, where do you see them fit into the space? Other than CFO roles, where do you see governance, compliances? There's a lot of hiring happening.
So as a finance person, I can say this, that most of us might have lost in the past, we basically lost some of the very good opportunities to explore and grow as finance professionals, maybe during the IT boom and maybe thereafter the Web 2 boom, right? Today is a right time, I would say. This is a complete new industry which is growing at a pace of 40-50% growth year on year, right? So it's a pretty huge industry. And this industry requires a very different framework when it comes to audit, consultancy. So let me talk about, so of course, the accounting of crypto is not similar as what we do with US dollars and dirhams. So there are different ledgers. The audit and the consultancy is also very different, because you need now people who understand technology, who could basically audit and verify your proof of reserves. Again, with compliances coming in, there are requirements where you need to audit your proof of ownership. So all of these basically open so many new streams of consultancy and audit professionals, specifically to grow. Secondly, also for like this, it has a risk management, it has asset management. So everything that we needed for traditional finance, we need here as well. We need people who are expert in controllership. We need people who are expert in risk management. So again, it's if someone adopts that industry, I think there is so much to do. Again, we had ERPs for SAP and Oracle and all. Now for this, again, we need separate kind of bookkeeping. So again, that is a new thing that will require so many more people to account for cryptocurrencies. So I think it's a whole in all, I would say in next 5 to 10 years is a big opportunity for finance professionals to be able to jump into it, because we have done this in the past, right? So, and with more and more institutional adoption of and regulatory clarity, I would see that banking is also going to shift, and everything is going to shift in this new direction. So there is lots for the finance professionals across the world to really delve into and see what share of this growth can we make of.
Amazing. And with Trump also supporting and backing this, I mean, it's for the next 4 years, it's going to be even more amazing. So that's one. And if you enter in early, as you said, it's going to be the right time, because now everybody is learning. So even the compensation and the pay packages, everything would be amazing and interesting compared to the normal market. So it's a good space to be in.
Yeah.
So
whenever there is a risk attached, then compensation will be higher, right? So there is some bit of risk because it's a new industry. But of course, if someone has learned in depth about it, it's an awesome journey here.
Yeah, and they can learn on the go, like how you are also learning, because there's no expertise as of now. So it's on the go.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Zarna, thank you so much for your time. And Zarna, you have to meet Yusuf, right? So Yusuf is the CFO of ADNOC Drilling. He's one of the youngest CFOs. So that was something which I was very interested, when he qualified in 2012. He's an investment banker, a CFA, and very, very active on social media, posts some amazing stuff, very easy to connect with. And so thanks a ton, Yusuf. And I hope you guys could probably connect sometime. Very interesting. She was earlier the CFO of Udrive as well. And he's also been in the startup ecosystem and very, very in tune with AI. So AI in the energy sector specifically. So over to you.
Such a pleasure to meet you, Yusuf. Thank you
likewise,
so much.
Likewise. Super looking forward.
Yeah.
Thank you
guys. Thank you,
so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Yusuf.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Yusuf. And everyone who's joining in, thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions and if you want to become a CFO of larger organizations, and if you feel age is one limit, then you've got to meet Yusuf. Okay, I mean, he's got some great practical exposure. He's groomed himself really well from IB, right, from investment banking to startups to the energy sector, and right now he's with ADNOC. So Yusuf, my first question for you is, the most obvious one is, you are the youngest CFO of a listed company. Earlier as well at Swivel, you were one of the youngest CFO, but of another exchange. So can you tell me what is expected from you? I mean, and how complex is your role your current role compared to your previous role, especially with ADNOC Drilling, which is such a large organization?
So I think in terms of expectations, you have kind of 5 main pillars, right? So one is kind of investor relations. So that's everything to do with whether it's a private company or a public company, engaging with investors, engaging if it's a public company with research analysts, with the public community in general, and basically kind of stimulating investment, raising capital, debt, equity, etc. The second is the kind of corporate development, business development, commercial side. So this is basically acquisitions, mergers, joint ventures, alliances. So there's different ways to drive inorganic growth of the business to complement the business kind of organic growth. 3 is the kind of the strategy and corporate performance side. So kind of setting the business plan, the kind of the plan going forward, assessing the corporate performance against this plans, the key KPIs, the key strategic initiatives. And then 4 is the kind of finance, accounting, and tax piece. So kind of the reporting, the infrastructure, the controls, all the kind of the policies, procedures, systems that's being used. And 5 is the kind of the treasury side of things in terms of cash management, financings, enterprise risk management, sustainability, insurance. So all the kind of corporate finance side as well. I think in terms of the complexity, obviously on the startup side, the main complexity comes from the kind of the constant need for capital, right? And the need to kind of to fundraise, and the need to manage the runway, and the need to balance between, on one hand, having kind of a long enough runway to kind of allow the business time to kind of to build as it's required and not be under the risk of kind of short runway, but at the same time being aggressive enough to be able to grow and be able to kind of achieve venture-like returns. When you move to a corporate, then your complexity more becomes size. For example, for ADNOC Drilling, it's 11,000 people. So obviously, how do you kind of manage a big operations in terms of assets, in terms of stakeholders, in terms of people, and being able to navigate and effectively, despite the large size, continue to be able to grow quickly and kind of and deliver growth.
Yep. Thank you for this, Yusuf. I missed asking you the most basic in the first question, which I had to ask you. Okay, so this is my 5th interview, so pardon me for that. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Like, how did you enter the space? How did UAE happen? What is your story? And what was your goal? Were you always keen on finance? Why not investment banking? Why finance? Why CFO? Over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Egyptian. I grew up in Egypt, studied at the American University in Cairo, graduated from there in 2012, moved to Doha, Qatar, stayed there for 4 years with Key Invest, the government-owned investment bank there, and then moved to kind of the UAE 9 years ago, first with Moelis, the US investment bank, then with Swivel, like an Uber for buses, a CFO, we went public on NASDAQ, and then with AIQ, which is an AI out of Abu Dhabi, which we merged with Presite, an AI-listed company on the Abu Dhabi exchange, and then with ADNOC Drilling, which is the oil field and gas arm of ADNOC, also listed on the Abu Dhabi exchange. I think why finance? I was looking for something kind of with numbers and kind of and applied numbers, right? And obviously, kind of, I studied financial mathematics, actuarial science. So it's always been kind of, for me, the kind of one of the most interesting things is basically how do you look at kind of numbers, which is always kind of one of the kind of the best ways to look at things, analyze things, objectively understand things, quantify things, and make them really tangible. And then how do you look at kind of applying this into the business world, the investment world, and how do you really look to maximize impact and deliver returns and deliver growth, kind of using this quantitative foundation. So that's kind of been I think investment banking, the advantage of investment banking is the exposure it provides, because obviously you're working across different industries, different types of transactions, different countries. You're working with very senior stakeholders because of the importance of the transactions. So you work with the board, you work with the senior management, which allows you to learn so much by being exposed to so many different things from early on. So you build kind of a very well-rounded exposure, and you build a very kind of rapid understanding. And then kind of you can then take that understanding and kind of apply it to any form of, whether it's kind of government, corporate, startup, etc. role after that.
Okay, so Yusuf, was this a strategy that you followed? That you developed all of those skills before getting into finance and as a CFO, or it was something that just happened? Investment banking happened, then you realized, hey, you know what? Yeah, over to you.
Exactly, it just happened. I think opportunities present themselves, and you just try to seize the opportunities, right? So, for example, when I was in university, I did the business writing course. As part of that, I had to kind of simulate applying for an internship. I actually applied for the internship. The internship became a full-time job, and so on and so forth. So I think the key thing is really to realize the kind of the opportunities and everything that's being presented to you, and seize these opportunities that are being presented, make the best out of them, and then by definition that will open the door for another opportunity, which again you seize, make the best of, and you kind of continue moving forward. Just the key thing is to be cognizant that you want to try to build as many different experiences as possible, right? So you want to try as much as possible to move. Now, whether you move internally within the same firm, you move between firms, you move between countries, but you want to keep moving to make sure that you keep your learning curve as steep as possible, and basically keep learning more and more.
Yep. So well said. So keep building your experiences is what you would tell everybody. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So Yusuf, I mean, the most exciting sector, right? The energy sector, the oil sector. Would you want to tell us a little bit about what's happening in the sector, and why did you decide to enter this segment, this sector? Your thoughts on this entire segment?
Yeah, I mean, so I think if you look at it, obviously from a revenue perspective or a fiscal perspective, obviously the energy sector is the largest sector in the Middle East, and is the main kind of underpinning of the Middle Eastern economy, and the underpinning of the diversification drive that the kind of Middle East is embarking on, right? Hence, but obviously by definition, being in that sector presents you a lot of opportunities, a lot of exposure, a lot of relationships, kind of being that kind of most critical sector in the region. I think in terms of the key trends, obviously one is technology, right? So kind of everyone is realizing that you can do things much more efficiently, and hence you can bring costs significantly down if you're effectively employing kind of latest technologies, kind of AI and other technologies. You can also significantly improve safety, especially in a sector like energy, which is very heavy on assets, on people. And then also the other kind of main trend is sustainability, right? So obviously everyone is bound by net zero targets, 2045, 2050, etc. And hence the need on one hand to balance energy security, which I think we've seen over the last 2-3 years how important energy security is to the world. and how volatile energy prices can be and subject to to events, and hence the importance of balancing energy security on one hand and making sure that remains available and affordable for people globally, especially as more countries urbanize, more countries more emerging markets go through that economic change. But at the same time, how do you balance that with sustainability, and hence all the, again, new technology trends, whether it's hydrogen, carbon capture, all types of different renewables, all type of new energy technologies. So I'd say these are the two most important trends.
Okay, amazing. So when you talk about AI, you were earlier with AIQ. When you talk about AI in the field that you're doing, energy sector, right? From what I've read a couple of reports which says ADNOC Drilling has invested almost 700 million or planning to in AI in this sector. I don't know if the numbers are a mismatch, but something on these lines. So what does AI exactly play a role in your line of work at ADNOC specifically?
Yes, so one is basically the automation, autonomous. So effectively, you have the robo well, the autonomous well, which is the same idea as an autonomous car. How do you have a well that basically can drive itself? And you also have a semi-autonomous rig, which is basically the rig that drills the wells. Also, how do you have a lot of automations on that? Then you have the digital twin piece, which is how do you create digital twins, 3D digital twins of reservoirs. So effectively, everything that you do on ground, you can do as a simulation, you can do from a remote operation piece. There's a smart vision. How do you apply basically computer vision to both above surface to pre-detect any potential accidents, as well as subsurface. You can analyze the fields and the wells underneath using computer vision. There is also the piece about real time. How do you you can use machine learning for real time analytics of all the the quantities, the temperature, pressure, etc., coming out of the wells. So it's a lot of different bits and pieces. And again, all of them are driven towards how can we use this automation to drive just more efficiency, more safety by having less people exposed to hazardous areas and more people working out of remote control operations, more more safer areas, and basically how do you continue to drive best in class performance.
Okay, so a lot of these AI, what you're talking about, these technologies are already implemented on ground, or it's going to be in a phased manner? Do you already see?
No, it's already implemented. Like today, we have this robo well, which is the autonomous well control. We have the smart eye, which is the cameras on the rigs linked to computer vision. We have the advanced reservoir 360, which is basically the digital twin of the reservoir. We have the portfolio optimization, which basically allows you to optimize economics versus emissions across the field. Obviously, more new products are being developed, and obviously these products are being enhanced further, but they're already live as we speak.
Okay, I have this question for you. What do you mean by there's an Islamic finance, right? What exactly is Islamic finance, and how if somebody wants to enter the UAE in terms of as a CFO or working for larger organizations like yourself, what is expected from their understanding of finance?
So I think there's two branches of Islamic finance, if you want. There's the more conventional branch, which is more covered, which is the how do you structure financial instruments so they're Sharia compliant, right? So when we talk, for example, about sukuk, the Islamic counterpart to bonds, when we talk about different Islamic financing facilities, murabahas, etc., which are the counterpart to the conventional loans, and this becomes most relevant if you're working in a Sharia compliant financial institution like an Islamic investment bank or commercial bank, etc. And also, if you're a CFO here, what's expected is for you to be able to leverage these tools, right? So effectively to be able to access some of these capital market instruments like sukuk, like Islamic financing, to diversify your your pools of capital and be able to access more Sharia compliant investors. And also, it's important for your equity to be Sharia compliant, so you can become part of different Sharia compliant indices. There's also a second side of Islamic finance, which we focus on, as we said, on some of these social media posts, which is the underpinnings of and the foundations of the financial system in the Quran and in the Holy Book and in Islam, right? And this is a much broader topic that covers things like transparency, equality, sustainability, etc., and how basically religious texts have also underpinned a lot of the foundations of how do you build the sustainable economic system that balance on one hand free market and capitalism and free demand and supply, with on the other hand social responsibility, sustainability, collective support, redistribution of wealth, transparency, protection of less advantaged parties, etc. And how do you create a holistic, sustainable financial economic system?
Okay, so in your current role, Yusuf, what kind of understanding do you need about Islamic finance? If somebody wants to become, say, a CFO or enter the finance team, is it important for them to really understand what is Islamic finance? And there's a lot of understanding and learning that has to be done in this space. So, in your current role, what is the application of it? Yeah.
I think the most important thing is to understand how to benefit from it, or how to utilize. For example, today at ADNOC Drilling, we're part of the Sharia compliant FTSE 15 index in Abu Dhabi. So we're one of the largest 15 Sharia compliant companies. And this is by making sure that your conventional debt ratio remains below a certain percentage, any contributions to your revenue from non-compliant activities remains below a certain percentage. So you can benefit from accessing that pool of equity investors. Equally, on the debt side, when you're issuing debt, the same way you can issue bonds and financing instruments to conventional banks, you can also have in parallel additional tranches of sukuk and Islamic finance facilities. And this allows you to access a pool of Saudi banks, Southeast Asian banks, Sharia compliant banks from within the rest of the GCC. So kind of enables you to broaden your pools of capital.
Okay. So when you're hiring for, say, in your finance team, what do you look for? Do you see a lot of hiring happening right now? I'm just asking you an overview. What's your thoughts on that?
Yes. So definitely attitude, right, remains the most important thing. Character and attitude. At the end of the day, it's not rocket science, right? Everything can be learned on the job. But you want to see someone who's very hungry, who's very motivated, who's very hard worker, who's very keen to come in, learn, do things, etc. So that kind of remains the most important thing. And second is obviously relevant experiences, right? Someone who's done whether full-time jobs, internships, but someone who has transaction experience, has real life experience, has worked on deals before, has worked on things with their own hands, so they can basically really get into the rhythm of it. And again, they can learn new things and do new things, but at least they've done a lot themselves. They've been through learning curves. They know how to do things. I think it is an active market. Obviously, it's a very competitive market also, especially in the UAE, as a lot of people move into the country, etc. But it also remains a very actively growing market. Same with Saudi. So I think in general, yes, it is a very booming market between obviously corporates, governments, fintechs, other startups, consulting roles, etc. The financial sector overall remains more and more active.
Okay, what are the sectors you would advise the people to enter into? What are the sectors that you are rooting for? Any emerging sectors that you're excited about?
Everything around data, of course, like data science, analytics, big data, etc. Everything around data, because again, data now is the foundation of everything. It's the foundation of AI, but it's the foundation of any application of any technology. And every company in the world is now looking inwards and saying, I now have this ton of data. How can I utilize it? How can I build on it? How can I make it a competitive advantage? So I think that's I think data is the top sector today.
Okay, and Yusuf, how is it working with the board of directors who are super senior, and you're with ADNOC, right? ADNOC Drilling, which is such a large organization. So how is it working with the board of directors? What is their expectation, say, from a CFO? What do they expect from you?
Ultimately, the board has a fiduciary duty to the shareholders, and the main duty is to maximize value and to maximize return for shareholders, right? And obviously, the CFO is a main counterpart towards delivering that objective, right? So obviously, you need to look at the total return, especially if you're a publicly listed company, between your share price and your dividend policy, and they're expecting that to be maximized, right? And that to be maximized through all the underlying pillars, right? To maximize growth, profitability, returns, capital return to shareholders, organic, inorganic initiatives. So maximize all communication, investor relations, so maximize all the underpinnings in terms of delivering on the story and then communicating the story to be able to create that value for shareholders.
Okay, and what do you find most exciting? Like, for instance, when I'm looking at when I checked you on LinkedIn, right? You were with startups, you were with investment banking, which was every day was a new day, right? Every day was a new deal. It's so you're on the edge. So how is it working in an industry which is kind of stable, or I don't know, from the inside? What is it that
I think it's what you, to be honest, I think it's what you make out of it, right? I think in any sector in the world or any job in the world, you can make every day a new day by just being motivated, going above and beyond, finding new areas to expand, etc. Or you can just go with the status quo regardless of the place. So for me, to be honest, less about the type of place. At the end of the day, the place that you're in is nothing but a platform. And you use that platform in whichever way you want to build on it, ask for more responsibility, step up, try to do more things, bring in more initiatives. Now, whether at the end of the day some of these things end up happening or not, yes, of course, if you're in a startup, you're likely to try more things will succeed, more things will fail. If you're in a corporate, you will end up less things will make it to the finish line, but probably have a high probability of success because of the bells and whistles around it. But at the end of the day, it's not necessarily about what you can get across the finish line. It's about what you try, what you push, what you try to do, and what you learn from, and whether things at the end happen or not. What's the number of things that happen? Every idea you're proposing, every transaction you're trying to bring through, every relationship you're building is a kind of a learning curve you're going through.
Okay, so well put. I have this last question for you, right? We rarely see a lot of CFOs, at least in the Middle East, or let's say Dubai, Abu Dhabi, who's active on LinkedIn, who's making videos, who's making clips, and who's on social media. So what drives you, and how do you think this has, added value to you, and of course to the others watching you? What drives you to actually put out content and to be out there? I'm sure you'll be spammed with a lot of CVs. Does that bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. And I think it's always great for people to kind of be proactive and reach out and share their CVs and kind of share their requests. And if someone is able to help, if there's an opportunity, they'll support. So not at all. I think what drives is, one is I do fundamentally believe in sharing content and sharing knowledge. And I think it is extremely critical. And a big part of the reason why you get privileged with that knowledge in the first place is your kind of ability and commitment to share it. And I do think it works that way, right? So if you actually refrain from sharing and you don't share the content you have, actually that over time will have implications on that, both physically, because part of that sharing is how you kind of build that knowledge, and also fundamentally, right? You're granted that knowledge and you're gifted that knowledge on the basis that you continue to share it. So I do think that's important. Second is, again, it's you wanna have this constant communication and be constantly top of mind, right? I think like any brand, like any communication, like any marketing strategy, you need to be out there, you need to be top of mind, you need to be constantly sharing, constantly kind of promoting, in order to continue to create opportunities for yourself, for people around you, right? Otherwise, just how will people know you? How would you become top of mind? That not everyone is going to have an opportunity to work with you directly in order to kind of know your work, know what you can contribute. So you also have to, again, like any corporate would do, like any brand would do, like anyone would do, is you have to go out there, present yourself, present your ideas, communicate, for people to be able to see and engage, and opportunities to come out of that.
Yep. Okay. So senior CFOs, senior CXOs should not shy away from putting themselves out, thinking that, hey, the UAE is a conservative market and nobody does it. You got to break barriers, be with the time, and be in front of people. You can maybe hire them, or you never know the opportunities that come through. So you're a big believer.
I think generally the idea that no one does something, if anything, that should be an incentive to think that there's a white space here. Why don't I use the opportunity? So I think if you decide not to do something, it has to be because you fundamentally believe that this has a downside to you. But the fact that no one does it, I see that as even a positive, to create a white space and for you to leverage that white space.
Yep, so true, so true. I have this last question for you, Aditya. I know we're running behind schedule. Thanks for joining in. I'll just get you. Yusuf, I have this last question for you, right? So, when I say young CFO, it's actually a big factor, right? Because we don't see a lot of CFOs in their mid-30s in larger organizations. So are you saying that we can also, like a lot of people who are 31, 32, 33 can think and even apply for senior position roles even at a younger age? That age should not be a barrier.
100%. I think at the end of the day, it's about the experience, right? So kind of what really matters is what's the amount of experience you accumulate in these years, whether they're 10 years or 20 years, but how many deals have you worked on? How many transactions have you done? How many financings? How many M&A? How many investor engagements? How many research analyst engagement? How many kind of quarterly financials? How many ERP installations? Like how much have you really done personally? And that's what you should focus on, right? So the year count is maybe a high level metric, but at the end, people drill into what you've done. So how can you maximize your role and how you can get the most out of your years? That really becomes the most critical thing.
Amazing. So basically, in future, to be a CFO, to be a head of finance, you're not going to just be a champion in IFRS and technical skills. You got to understand how to raise money, deals. You recently are looking at raising, I think, 1.3 billion for ADNOC drilling. So they are big numbers, right? So that's because of the skill set that you've developed. Okay.
Exactly.
So yes, so thanks a lot. It was great catching up with you, and I'll definitely do another session with you, a little longish. Thank you so much. Such a pleasure.
Looking forward.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Aditya. Thank you for your patience. Thank you. We were actually a little behind schedule, and everyone who's watching, thanks a lot for tuning in. Feel free to type in your questions and we'll take it. Okay, so Aditya, you are somebody which a lot of people would really want to hear from. Okay, because you moved to the UAE after being a CFO in India and having a experienced kind of a profile. So, would you want to first tell us a little bit about yourself? That's one, and second one, why move to the UAE? After a couple of years in India and then right now move back. Over to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, thanks, Chantal, and happy to be here. Thanks for the
thank
opportunity.
you, thank you.
So a bit of background to myself. It had an interesting career journey. Started off as a investment banker way back in 2005 for a couple of years.
Yep,
Then did a career pivot and moved to Procter& Gamble. In Procter& Gamble, worked across 13 years across, initially in India, was based out of factory. Then I partnered with the
yep,
sales teams and I moved to Singapore. And then
yep,
Procter& Gamble moved me back to India in 2019. And At that time, obviously, Procter& Gamble was and is a great company to work for. But at a point
yep,
of time, I wanted to kind of almost relearn, reshape my career. And I thought that what better than getting to e-commerce. So that's when I joined Udaan, which at that time
yep,
was one of the largest B2B e-commerce players in India as a CFO for
yep,
the food FMCG business. Completely different business model, startup, kind of had to build out teams, processes, systems from scratch, reinvent business
yep,
model in the middle of COVID, because suddenly COVID hit and things were helter-skelter. So it was very, very different and a lot of fun. Uh, and then an opportunity at Dubai came calling, and honestly, it was one was obviously about Dubai or UAE as a location, but more important it was also about the opportunity because I fundamentally felt that the retail sector, especially fashion retail in UAE, was at the cusp of transformation
yep.
from two or three standpoints. One is if I look at the retail fashion retail sector in UAE, UAE is number two in the world after London in terms of the sheer presence of fashion retailers. So that's what
Okay.
uh, was the status at that point of time. Second thing was it was just in the middle of COVID or end of COVID, and I felt that the
Yep,
industry was ripe for kind of an omni-channel transformation.
yep,
And the third aspect of moving to UAE was really the whole aspect of being able to work in a different culture, a different environment, a very different business model. And yeah, then the move to UAE just happened about 4 years back. And then yeah, very recent. And I'm of the philosophy that from a career standpoint, learning should never stop. So when I talk
yep.
about look at my career journey, I am an eternal learner. That's one philosophy I would always want to follow in my career. So whether it was working across Asia Pacific in Singapore, across a variety of different businesses, working in India back 15 years back, working in a startup in Udaan, working in fashion retail, learning never stopped for me. And then I guess
Wow.
it's in the same way that I kind of moved back to India just about 3 months back. I joined Unilever in India as a CFO for their food business. Again, food is something which I've never done earlier. It's been a very different experience.
Yep.
I'm only 3 months here, so still in the learning journey, learning curve. But yeah, I think that's how I would kind of shape up my background and experiences.
Thank you so much, Aditya. So this is so well put. So from what I understand, even you've got diverse experience, different sectors. So if it's always about new experiences, not even in the finance team. You're currently the heading finance, and you were the CFO. But deals, M&A, you've got the background in that as well. So that has kind of helped and shaped too. Okay, Aditya, the most exciting thing is, when you moved here 4 years back, you were already at a senior leadership. So how did you exactly decide that you want to move to Dubai, and how did you find this opportunity? Do you think it's easy for CXOs to find opportunities here much deeper into their career?
Yeah. So I so it is easy. I mean, it is possible to find opportunities, although I would say two, three things are very, very critical to be able to find opportunities. One I would say networking is important. And networking being connected with the right set of mentors, mentees, and generally being out there uh, uh, and not just for seeking out a job. So, for example, just for perspective, the role in Landmark Group as a CFO for Splash came across through somebody who was mentoring me for the past 15 years. And I've been in touch with him for 15 years. He was a former CFO for PNG in India. And then I was having a chat that about potential opportunities in Dubai, and then he kind of connected me with a few people with whom he knew, and then conversations happened, and then that's how the opportunity came by. So I would say that network not just for the purpose of finding a job. That would be the message I want to drive. Network genuinely because you genuinely value somebody's advice, you genuinely want to take advice, want to give out advice. What and it can be both ways. Networking is not just for as a mentor, can also be as a mentee. And networking doesn't necessarily mean that you only network with senior people. You could also end up learn from a lot of people who may be at different stages in their career, much younger. Because in today's day and world, it is, I believe, it's not just the years of experience; it's just about the breadth and depth of experiences that really matter.
Yep.
So yeah, if you network well, I think it is possible to get jobs in Dubai. Uh, uh, and just for perspective, when I was moving to Dubai, I had three opportunities. I chose Landmark Group and Splash for the right reasons. Splash being a homegrown retailer with deep regional roots, good culture, good value systems. But yeah, uh, it is not impossible to land up opportunities, even if you have to move countries.
Okay, that's a very interesting point. So you basically discover an opportunity through a network, which mostly happens at least at the CX level. Right? So, and that is somebody you knew since 15 years. It was not like, hey, I need some help and let me find a job. No, that's such an important point. Networking, long-term relationship building is so important.
Yes, long term
Okay, okay.
is the key, is what I would say. Not tactical, but long term relationship building.
Okay, so how do you find and how do you discover? I mean, I know this is a little off topic, but how do you discover mentors who can, mentor you or be in the circle who probably someday you can add value and they can also add value? How do you build?
So I would say two, three ways of kind of building or cultivating mentors. One is I'm sure people in their organizations end up working with different people uh, in the past, and eventually people move roles, move companies. But
Yep,
if you kind of just keep in touch and you feel that the other person can genuinely add value, that's one way
yep,
of approaching somebody for mentorship. The other way is, I would say, being externally connected. So attending industry conferences, uh, and maybe in the industry conference, you may come across some people who you think could maybe have a aha moment for you that, okay, fine,
yep.
maybe it would be good for me to be connected with so and so person who can genuinely give me the right advice going forward. And the third thing I would add is LinkedIn could also be a good place of networking. A lot of people do end up posting on LinkedIn, and
Yep.
if some people's posts, comments, articles do resonate with you, you can reach out to those people. Uh, Not everyone responds on LinkedIn, but I'm sure that there are enough
Yep.
people who are more than willing to give a helping hand.
Okay,
And it
so
has to
well.
work both ways. It's not just about seeking out mentors; it's also having having mentors or having your own mentors as well, or
Yep.
mentoring other people.
Yep.
Like I think, and if you are in a larger organization, I think it is a lot easier probably because you have a kind of a wider pool. But even if you're not a larger organization, there are definitely ways of uh, seeking out mentors.
Okay, that's so well put. You've also worked in Singapore, right? So I see that you've got major markets. You've got Singapore, you've got India, you've got Dubai. How did you decide? Like, hey, let me also look at Singapore. How different is Singapore as a market for finance leaders compared to Dubai vis-a-vis India or Mumbai? What's your thoughts?
So obviously, Singapore as a market uh, has evolved over a period of time. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, uh, but yeah, Singapore, like a lot of companies have had or even continue to have regional headquarters. And when I say regional headquarters, I'm talking of Asia Pacific or Asia Middle East Africa headquarters in Singapore.
Yep.
So to that extent, Singapore does tend to offer a lot of opportunities as well, given that the regional headquarters of a lot of companies are based out there.
Yep.
Second is obviously it's a different culture. I mean, even Dubai has been a different culture being in Middle East, but Singapore is probably more connected with Southeast Asia, China, Philippines, and to some extent Australia and New Zealand. So it's different culturally compared to India, compared to Dubai. So I would say that look, figuring out a job in any location is probably not very difficult. It can be done. It's all about
Yep.
how well can somebody adapt to different set of cultures, different set of work environments. Because
Yep.
working in India is very different from working in Singapore vis-a-vis working in Dubai.
Okay, okay. And why did you decide to go back to India? I mean, everybody wants to be in Dubai. It's like the hottest place right now. What drove you to India? Do you see that the opportunities in India are equivalent? Can the compensation in India right now match even, Dubai? How did you decide and how did you look at the pay scale aspect too?
Yeah. So I would say two things. There are great opportunities in India as well uh, that
Yep.
do pay fairly competitively. Obviously, one needs to remember there's a cost of living aspect as well, difference between India and Dubai. So, but fairly, I mean, the India market in terms of pay scales and competitive salaries, I would say is fairly different now vis-a-vis what it was a few years back. So there are good opportunities out there in India. Uh, um, Dubai was also great. I mean, I'm not, I'm by no means I'm saying that Dubai was not great. Dubai was wonderful. Definitely, quality of life in Dubai and India is very, very different.
Yep.
Uh, India also has a lot. I mean, has a lot of different organizations.
Yep.
So a lot of homegrown, large family-run businesses. A lot of multinationals with a large presence
Yep.
as well as a vibrant startup ecosystem. So India has all three kinds of opportunities on offer right now. Obviously, within India, it's not just a one country, right? It's also different by city. If it's probably Bangalore, probably more the startup tech ecosystem, where there
Yep.
are a lot of finance opportunities out there. Uh,
Yep.
Mumbai is probably more of established organizations, less of the tech ecosystem. NCR is probably a bit of it's kind of a blend of what Mumbai and Bangalore have to offer. So it's different, but yeah, India does have great opportunities on offer. And if somebody is again willing to relearn, reshape their career journey, India does have a lot to offer. So I would say that in my case, I saw the move to India again as a reshaping or a relearning part of my career journey. I had never done foods earlier, but done FMCG. Foods FMCG are very, very different. Again, it was an opportunity to be a part of a different, well-known brand name,
Yep.
one of the best known brand names in India. Opportunity to learn something totally different, which is what drove me to move back to India.
Yeah, Aditya, you have a very interesting career pattern, right? You've also worked with startups. You've also worked with, say, mostly promoter-led and Slash, which is a large conglomerate again, right?
Yes.
Basically, and Procter and Gamble, HUL. So, how do they differ, and what do you prefer the most? Do you need to have a specific kind of a nature to fit into an organization, some nature-driven choices?
Yeah. So look, I would say Uh, one is, I think it's important to be adaptable, to be able to adapt yourself to different kinds of organizations.
Yep.
For sure, a multinational like a Procter& and Gamble or HUL would be fairly process driven. While vis-a-vis a startup like Udaan, where processes need to be established. So
Yep.
it's about mentally attuning yourself uh, that the same thing that worked in the past may not work in the future. I mean, that's how I looked at it from a career standpoint. Yes, I
Yep.
have built experiences over 20 years, but how do I continually reshape myself to drive change, drive transformation? I think only thing experience helps me is a benefit of hindsight of okay, what I've learned, but I can't blindly reapply what I've learned over the last 19 years into the next job because it requires you to reshape and relearn. Now, if it depending on the type of organization, yes, Landmark is was a family organization. Um Again, uh, different orientation, different cultural orientation in terms of how the promoters want to view the business, run the business, look at the business, look at different metrics, uh, uh, vis-a-vis a PNG, vis-a-vis a Udan, vis-a-vis a HUL. Uh, from my standpoint, I'm agnostic. I mean, it's not that a certain uh, kind of business appeals or doesn't appeal to me. All kinds of business are fine. Yes, there are certain value systems which I hold. I mean, very close to my chest. Integrity being
Yep.
one of them. As long as I don't need to compromise on integrity, any kind of organizations, whether it's family run, startup, or multinational, are equally close to my chest.
Okay, thank you, Aditya. Aditya, I have this last question for you. So, what is the advice you would give, say, future CFOs in terms of skill building, in terms of building specifically a career in the UAE? Anything specific which you had to learn growing up, which probably they could, develop and understand more in terms of skill, knowledge, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Anything on it?
I would say one advice I would say is digital transformation is a very important skill. And about 2 decades back, I guess we were all new to the internet. Internet was just about coming up. Now,
Yep,
the opportunity that digital transformation has thrown up, be it in the field of generative AI,
yep,
learning, machine-led forecasting,
yep,
robotic process automation, uh,
yep,
Web3. So I think it's
yep,
very, very important for all budding CFOs, new finance professionals, everybody to
yep,
continually relearn in their career journey. Now, UAE
yep.
is obviously kind of also taking the lead on a lot of the things with regard to digital transformation. So, all the more important to kind of always be ahead of the curve, ahead of the game in terms of digital transformation.
Okay.
The second part is, I would say, for anyone is uh, it's important to be able to learn how to navigate working across different cultures. Uh,
Yep,
right now it's Ramadan time, so obviously
yep,
but it's not just Ramadan time. I mean, what I mean to say is it's important that people are culturally adaptable, culturally agile, uh, culturally respectful, because that
yep.
goes a long way in establishing your credibility as a CFO in being able to adapt in new environments.
Yep. No, that's a great point. So when you talk about Islamic finance, I don't know, would it be related to your kind of segment at Splash? Should CFOs understand what Islamic finance, or it's okay?
Yeah, I think it's definitely important for CFOs to understand Islamic finance. I think at least in Splash, it was more about keeping the because it's fashion retail or fashion apparel, more about the cultural sensibility, keeping that in mind as I kind of used to kind of allocate budgets towards different priorities, towards different towards what to buy, in which season, etc., was very, very important. But broadly, I think beyond that, also learning, understanding about Islamic finance is a key skill that I would say UAE or Dubai would have on offer, which is very, very different from other parts of the.
Okay, and what was your learning process like? Did you like learn a bit of it while in India and then come here, or it was just learning on the ground? How was it? That's one. Secondly, is any other knowledge which you need specific to this location if you want to be in finance or especially in senior leadership? Any specific kind of knowledge?
Yeah. So I would say two, three things. It's always good to learn, even while you are in India, about what to expect in UAE. So one is UAE has introduced a corporate tax about a year back. Now this
Yep.
was not existent in UAE about till till about a year back. So it's very, very important, for example, to be abreast about these developments, implications of all of this, uh, not just in from a tax standpoint, but in replicate all of this in terms of how would business models probably end up evolving uh,
Yep.
basis the new corporate tax regulations.
Yep.
So I think so. I think that's one piece which would be very, very important for people to appreciate, understand, and learn. The second piece I would say is learn more about the market or the industry you're getting into uh, in Middle East. In my case, it was learning more about the fashion apparel market. Obviously, I did as much as learning as I could sitting in India, but then
Mhm.
eventually on the nothing substitutes on the job, on the ground learn. So
Yep.
on the job, on the ground learning, how do you ensure that you are out there meeting customers, meeting suppliers, meeting different stakeholders, so that you have kind of a well-rounded business perspective. Because at the end of the day, the role of finance or a CFO is not just about numbers. It's about a holistic business understanding, which then translates into a certain set of numbers that need to be delivered, reported internally, externally, and then managing different stakeholders. So uh, unless a person has a holistic business understanding uh, beyond just accounting, reporting, controlling, which is the foundation and hygiene, very, very important. But I think unless you have a business understanding, it would be difficult to succeed as a CFO.
Okay, okay, that's interesting. I've got 3 pointers for you, which I have to ask you. Okay, Amit, I know you're there. Give me 5 to 6 minutes, and we'll be back. We're a little behind schedule. Thank you. So, okay, so I have this question for you, which a lot of people would have, right? As a CFO in UAE, right, in Splash, how long did it take to settle into a role, to understand stuff? Is it how much time is actually given to really get the market? Because you were from a totally different market, first time in the region. So that's point number one. Was were you expected to have the region market? Was that a did that topic come about, or there was a lot of support in general, not about your organization, but in general?
Yeah. So I would say typically it would take time. I mean, it did take me time to learn, and even now I don't claim to be an expert on the market, right? I mean, the market is constantly evolving, changing, etc. Uh, so, but having said that, an ability to appreciate and learn different business models. Like, for example, in the case of Splash, I had to learn obviously it was a private label, Splash, but then also had to learn about licensing, where we ended up licensing. We have licensing agreements with global brands like Lee Cooper and Kappa. So licensing arrangements. Own
Yeah.
store versus franchisee operated stores, because again we operated through a mix of our own stores, franchisee operated stores. So all of these things do take time, but I think and people are appreciative and understanding of this, that you come across from a different background, different industry, as long
Yep.
as you can demonstrate that you are eager to learn, eager to partner, and then make an impact. I think all three are important. Uh, in general, I would say people have been extremely supportive in my organization, in my group, not my current, but my previous organization, in terms of giving the space to grow, learn, and partner and drive impact.
Okay. So
But yeah,
it's
it takes
not
time.
very.
It
It's not.
takes time.
It takes
It
time.
takes time.
It takes.
Uh,
Okay. So
uh,
do you think companies here for CXOs they prefer someone with the region knowledge because of this, or even if you don't have the region knowledge, it's okay.
uh, Again, I've seen both kinds of organizations. Some organizations are extremely critical that they would want the exact region or exact industry knowledge. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, but then there are also organizations that are hiring CXOs not based on what they have done in the past, but more in terms of potential skill sets they bring onto the table, and the kind of the attitude and the fitment that they bring onto the table, which is ability to be culturally adaptable, agile in new work environments. So there are both kinds of organizations, and in the latter part of organizations, it is uh, people who are not from the region can definitely uh, move into the region, even in different industries.
Okay, cool. So, Aditya, thanks for answering all my questions. My last closing question for you is, tell us a little bit about the UAE landscape and what are you most excited about, through your experience here. How do you think it's shaping up? Should people really look at UAE as a whole for opportunity CXOs, or is it very crowded? Is it only for the, mid-level professionals? Your
Sorry,
thoughts on this?
there was a slight lag.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible now. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking, can you give us a little bit about the UAE market as such? What are you most excited about? That's one. And for CXOs or CFOs who want to move to this region, right? Should they really, really go for it, or is it the freshers or the mid-level professionals, have a higher chance of, finding opportunities? From your observation, this is my
I think
closing question.
UAE is definitely a very vibrant and exciting market. Uh, I
Yeah,
mean, starting with the government has laid out a 10-year blueprint uh, of where it wants the UAE to go into, uh,
yeah,
and it's an extremely progressive blueprint that has been laid out by the government,
yeah,
and that in my mind is really going to attract. One is a lot more organizations, a lot more businesses that
yeah,
would probably end up being having their regional hubs in the UAE.
yeah,
So there would be a lot of opportunities on offer. I think that's one. Second is with the blueprint, the UAE market is going to undergo a lot of change. I mean, we've all seen, and across sectors, we've all seen the plans of opening up a new airport in Al Maktoum, which will probably be one of the largest airports in the world. Uh, and this is just one example. Uh, we have we're going to see Etihad Rail coming up, and a lot of changes
yep,
happening on the infrastructure space.
yep,
So infrastructure changes again will end up driving a host of related opportunities in similar or allied spaces. Uh,
yep,
the third thing is UAE is also at the forefront of the whole digital slash AI revolution. A lot of crypto, blockchain, Web3 companies are setting
yep,
up global hubs in UAE. So
yep,
definitely, I would say it is definitely a very very vibrant market. Lastly, it's again
yep,
culturally uh, uh, very very vibrant. I mean, you have it's a melting pot of different cultures. So if you are
yep,
somebody who likes or thrives working across different
yep.
cultures, again, it's a great place to work.
Yep, cool. So, in short, the great place to work, there is an opportunity. It's not, as we see it, overcrowded. There's always in and out that happens over here. And it's interesting. Interesting. It's an interesting spot to be in. So, Aditya, I mean, thanks a ton for your time. I can ask you so many more questions. I just realized. But I'll definitely invite you again for another conversation. But
Sure.
thank you so much for giving your
Thank
time
you, everyone.
and for the extra 10 minutes that you had to wait on. But thank you so much. And everyone
Thank
who's
you.
watching, feel free to connect with Aditya. Please, if you have any questions, write to us. We will pass it on to Aditya. And if you're still here, thank you so much for being here and staying online for so long. Thank you so much. Thanks a ton. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Hi, Amit. Amit, thank you so much. Thanks a lot. And everyone's waiting for you. Everyone's waiting to understand what's happening in tax. And thanks for being so patient. I mean, we're 15 minutes apart from schedule. We were supposed to meet. No, we were supposed to meet at 11, right? We were supposed to.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so
No,
much.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Antal, and very good morning to everyone, all the listeners. And it was great
Yes.
listening all the great speakers previously in this session. So yes,
Thank you.
we can start.
Thank you. Thanks a ton. So how I scheduled this is basically we had the first two speakers to give us a market landscape. Then we had a whole bunch of CFOs, and you are the only tax partner. So I completed all the CFOs, and then I said, let's close it with taxation and what's happening. So that's how we actually structured it. So thank you so much for joining in. So Amit, can you tell me first of all a little bit about what's happening in the tax market over here as a, at UHY? What do you see as a tax partner? Give us a little bit of an overview from your interaction with clients. What are they most excited about, and what are they most worried about? What do you see?
Yeah, I would say now taxes, still the taxes were announced in 2022, and now we are in 2025. So now I would say market is bit settled in terms of the question that was coming earlier, like why taxes are here, why we have to pay it, and how is impacting our profits. So now I would say the businesses are more matured in terms of understanding, and I would say accepting that yes, taxes are here, and but still, what we see globally, the tax rates are and how the complicate compliance there is. Accordingly, when they compare with the UAE, so it's quite simple, I would say. So yes, from my understanding, I'm not getting this question that why taxes are here or why we have to shed out 9%. So now more question is coming on the technical front. What would be the treatment of particular transaction? Or I would say that I'm quite not surprised, but I'm happy that now businesses are coming up by asking that give us the legitimate way to minimize or optimize the taxation instead of going for something hanky panky. So this is very good that now businesses are matured enough to accept it and take it in a positive way.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's a great insight. So when you talk about taxation, there's a lot of benefits, say for free zones, right? So do you see that line kind of dimming? Do companies in the free zones feel that, hey, what if certain things will apply? What do you think they are thinking in terms of companies, organizations? What do they ask you typically?
No, free zone basically, yeah, that initially questions were there why we are into free zone. The free zone word itself says there's no taxation, they are free from taxes. But again, the companies, those have been incorporated, they first need to understand what was the purpose of establishing the free zones. So there were two motives, two main objective of having free zone is to have a FDIs, foreign direct investment. They were where they were offering 100% ownership and they can do the business. And second is to have or strengthening the international or cross-border transactions, cross-border businesses. So these were two objectives. They never wanted to give competition to their existing market, to their local market. So if we follow that, if we concentrate on those objectives, then considering after incorporation of VAT and other corporate tax also, they have kept their promise intact. So now, I would say before 2018, there was no taxation, though there was no question on payment of any levy. But after coming of VAT and now corporate tax, yes, they are allowing the benefit of taxes, but subject to certain conditions. Where conditions are, I would say, quite simple. If you are dealing with a free zone company itself, then there will be 0% tax subject to certain condition. If you are not dealing with the free zone person, then they have listed the qualified activities. So I would say if you see the list, they are covering most of the I would say activity that is contributing to the economic growth, which is, I would say, manufacturing, processing, is logistic hub. UAE is already a logistic hub. They have covered that. Then I would headquarters services, treasury, head holding company subsidies, then regulated activities, aircraft, shipping business, all have been covered. They have come up. Actually, that's a strategical move in identifying what activities will be classified as or should be classified as a qualifying activity. So if we see those, so I would say everything I'm covering, considering the objective, what was there at the time of establishing the free zone.
Yep. It's all they've stuck to their word for why the purpose of the free zone has not been shifted or changed. That's been true to it. So that's fine.
So yes, now only the condition is that what I have to follow, what I have to satisfy. So that if one understand that, then definitely still they can avail 0% tax benefit. 0% tax benefit is that they don't need to. There will be no outflow of the taxes, but as compliance side, I have to ensure that everything is aligned.
Yeah. Okay, that's a great point. I have to ask you this. Okay, I have a couple of more questions. But what is this exactly with regard to BEPS rules and economic substance regulation? I don't know technically what is it exactly, but it's latest. Everyone's talking about this transfer pricing rules. So is it becoming harder or for organizations, companies here? What's your point of view? If you can also give me a little bit of an overview of what exactly is this Pillar 2 and stuff like that.
So I'll tell you, just I will considering the timeline what we have just. So OECD guidelines dictates about the pillar 2 approach, where accordingly they says that all the multinational companies having a turnover of more than 750 million euros globally and at a consolidation level, then they need to pay tax at the rate of 15% in irrespective of the jurisdiction where they are established. So either the headquarters in UK and they have a branch or I would say subsidiary in UAE, still the tax rate, effective tax rate, I would say, should not below 15%. This is I would say just a layman understanding I would give you. And now question comes, yes, UAE has also accepted it. So there are different methods. There are three methods to it for applying this. So UAE has adopted the DMTT method. Is a domestic minimum top-up tax. So in that, whatever the I would say shortfall as compared to 15% is there when we calculate the ETR, is the effective tax rate. So that has to be collected by UAE authorities, not by any other jurisdictions or tax authority where maybe their head office is stationed or where their head office established. So when I say that DMTT method where the authorities is with UAE tax authority, so definitely that can be overcome considering UAE as a global business hub. So that tax should not be loosed. So authority definitely will take care of that. And this is my personal opinion. I'm quite sure that this freeze on taxability of 0% was being introduced. Definitely they would be knowing that this pillar 2 approach will also come up one fine day. So they must have considered this while evaluating the qualified business activities, and further more clarity, more redefining this activity would come up to align with this provision and calculations. Even it is also expected that authority FTA would come up with the I would say qualified refund tax credit, which is basically what I understand that where the incentive with respect to the research and development expenses would be covered in that, the capital investment would be covered, that there would be green energy grant would be allowed. So I would say where the authority has already taken the call that 0%, the freeze on authority or freeze on entities would get 0%. Now bringing up the 15%. So definitely they will not going to squash out 15% directly on that, but they will try to give the incentive so that the 0 to 9, which is there with which is payable to the mainland, can be can be reduced, can be narrowed down for the entities, for the multinational groups. This is my understanding, and yes, going forward still there's so much to come up on that, and which is on the card what I'm telling you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Amit, for this. I mean, I did get a perspective. Thanks a lot. So, Amit, there's also another thing which we're kind of reading a lot, right? Even at ADGM and at DIFC, there's a year-on-year increase in the number of registered businesses, right? The number says 6920. It could be a lot more here and there. So, from a tax perspective or as a firm, what does this mean to you? How does UHY come into the picture, and what is it your role that's in this team?
No, I'll tell you, this record is absolutely fine, and even it should be more than that when we compare the whole UAE as a new incorporation or new set of the business, because now eyes of the major businesses around the globe is on UAE, considering the tax policy, the I would say friendly business friendly environment, easy processes. And so if you look at that, I would say if you check the mainland, this percentage would be much more than what you have quoted here, 25%. Again, the result is that earlier there was no taxes, so books of account finance was only revolving around the accounting, whether it's done correctly or not, and how the auditors has taken that, whether auditor has given the right comment or not, I would say qualified report or unqualified or clean, how it has been dealt with. But now end result is now taxation. So when we, as you said that in this session you have structured tax at the last, where you have covered first about the I would say for foreign trade policy, then CFO roles, and after that taxes. So taxes will be or is an end result now, where you have to do backward calculation to get the I would say desired result from taxation. You have to work background and control each aspect which will be starting from understanding your business, maybe restructuring your business, then doing the accounting properly, following the IFRS, managing the auditors, because role of auditor has also increased, the role and responsibility auditor has also increased. So even the auditor cannot close the report until and unless the tax will give their provisions. So after incorporating the provision of taxes, only the report can be concluded, can be closed. So is now end result will be taxation. So everything will revolve around the taxes at what we see in other jurisdictions.
Okay, cool. So, I have this question. We see a lot of businesses opening their offices here, right? So, how does this picture in terms of double taxation, So, if they're opening their main office here, I guess the UAE tax of 9% or will apply. But if it is India is their main office, then, the India rate will apply. So, how do people, figure that way out? So, I mean, that's where you come in and your firm also comes in to help. So, but it's not as straight, right? You got to really understand the complexities.
Yeah, I'll tell you is we need to understand what the business model is. If as rightly said, if the entity is incorporated in UAE, definitely is a UAE resident company. They have to pay tax on their global income. So likewise, if the company is having a subsidiary or a branch, then the transaction need to be evaluated. It cannot be go on a company level, it goes on a transaction level when we check the DTA, or moreover when I would say transaction would cover, I would say, royalties, management fees, professional fees, and a dividend. So how what the rate of taxes with respect to withholding tax has been provided between the DTA. So I would say UAE is very, very proactively has signed more than 130 DTA with more than 130 countries as of now. So that's a edge for the businesses here in UAE, where they can do the businesses and can avail the discounted or privileged rate of taxes with the help of DTAA.
Okay. Okay.
And moreover, one important thing is coming up on the from UAE perspective is about the POEM rule, place of effective management. So before introduction of corporate tax law, definitely there were the businesses who were having their headquarters or having their holding company in the non-tax jurisdiction. It could be Cayman Island, BVIs, and all. So now with the introduction of POEM rule, it has now raised a question on the UAE entities where it is managed from UAE. So law is clear. If any entity which is outside UAE, which is non-resident, still it is managed and from UAE, their strategic decisions all been taken in UAE. That will be considered as a deemed resident of UAE. So all the provision will apply on those entities itself, even though they are non-resident. So that's a catch where actually so much restructuring, re-domiciling of those companies are happening. So in that case, where there is no taxation, if there is no DTAA, then it's a plain vanilla that whatever income I'm getting from income being parked there, I have to record here also and pay taxes. But question would come up where the low tax jurisdictions are there, or there could be a Cyprus, their taxes are there. So what is whether DTA has been signed between UAE and Cyprus or not? If it is signed, then what are the tax advantages being provided therein? So we need to evaluate that and take the call accordingly.
Okay, excellent. So Amit, you must be very hectic, right? Being in this space right now, because everybody's opening their offices here. Businesses are registering here on a daily basis. They are really soaring. So it must be really hectic for you. So what goes on into your role as a tax partner at UHY? What is your day like, and how does it pan out?
Yeah, I'll tell you that that's actually a very great question, because when any business is set up, so they start with taxation, but they don't only need taxation. So luckily, like in UHY, we have a different department. We have a separate accounting department, then company incorporation, merger acquisitions are there. Then audit team is separate, taxes there, legal team is separate. So yes, considering the size of the business and the need of the hour, we provide all these services in a one under the one roof, which is good for us. But yes, it starts with taxation, because that's the ultimate result that one is concernful about it. And but how to take it further, how to drive through the process, that we do as a team.
Okay, and what got you to taxation into Dubai? I mean, What is your story in a nugget? What would you say?
No, I would say it's a tax era now from 2017 or 2018. I would say 2017 because the taxes were being excise tax was being introduced in that. So from 27 and is a tax era has already been started, and next at least 10 years would be more promising because the 2025 this year we have to file the returns. We already been started. Next year is already aligned with the I would say e-invoicing for the VAT prospects, and after that I would say different taxes activities would be there. Maybe it could be corporate tax assessment. Then there may be a personal income tax. So yes, next 10 years would be very promising for UAE in UAE for the tax professionals, I would say.
Okay, so you're saying if there are tax professionals in India, Egypt, or any part of the world, this is the right time to move to the UAE, including Saudi. It is a good time to be here. So earlier people would be like, hey, working in tax here is not as fulfilling as in India because India is such a complex tax regime, right? But from what I see, it is evolving and it is getting complex. Of course, not to that level. But what do you see?
No, that's true. I would say if we cannot compare UAE taxes with India or Egypt. Both are in Egypt and India. There the matured. Taxes are already matured. They have seen it's been more than 2 decades. They are I would say refining their taxes, overcoming with the loopholes and challenges. So we cannot compare with that. But yes, uh, it is always said that if you enters at a right time in the beginning of the I would say any process, then you learn a lot and you can become the expert. So anyone who's actually, you're saying that this is a right time for the financial, yes, anyone who is coming from the different jurisdictions to UAE to establish their career or profession, then it would be all advisable. Don't come just blank by saying that you have a understanding of their respective tax laws. Better to have one small course or be aligned with the updates or the taxes. Then the chances are higher to get the better career approach. And if they're coming for the businesses, then better understanding prior to jumping into the river would be better to be trained, be known to the provisions how things are evolving, because taxes is something is not on the will of the anyone. It works
Yeah.
with certain motive. So taxes
Yeah.
came up with certain motives, so one need to understand why this has been implemented. And everything is not clear, so one has to basically look at the motive and then analyze what can be the next step. So this is all understanding what I've learned so far from my tax career as of date.
Yeah. Can I ask you two more questions? Is it okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So, what can you tell us a little bit about hiring? What's happening in terms of hiring? How do you see the hiring shaping up, not only at UHY but in general? That's one. And the second one is, how do you decide between working with a consulting advisory firm or with a CA firm vis-a-vis, working in the industry? These are my two questions.
I'll tell you firstly on the hiring side. Hiring is actually the firms are there, workload is increasing. Where I would say there's a clients or the businesses those who have not acted earlier, now they have started coming up because they have to file the return. So hiring is definitely is at a full swing. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about the UHY. Yes, we are hiring, but I can see from my peers, from my friends, those who are working in other consultancy firm, all are looking for good resources, and coaching is happening of the good resource. So that's how things are moving. So if you have a good knowledge, definitely you will be in demand now.
Okay.
And
And how do you
your
choose
second question.
between industry
No,
and between working?
No, I'll tell you, this is I would say, personal choice of anyone. I was
Yeah.
been from starting only into the consultancy. So after
Yeah.
internship also, yeah, internship I've done from a consultancy firm. Then after that, I was into consultancy part only. I never been to that industry part. So I
Yeah.
don't have much to say, but yes, I'm on the positive side. I would say if you remain in a consultancy business, you remain updated with the new provisions
Yeah.
and what is happening here. And it is not a negative side from the industry side, but yes, industry have their set rules, set of activities that they have to fulfill, And if they are overloaded with those activities, definitely they have a very less chance to keep themselves updated. And other way around, if they keep themselves updated, then how will they be going to take our service as a consultant? So it's a mix. I don't want to say much on the industry side, but yes, on the consultancy side, I know more about that because I'm been into that only.
That was a good point. Cool. So, Amit, this is my last question for you, and this is the fact what's happening, right? Every day, since especially our network is, CA firms and people who are working, who have their own firms, consulting, advisory, okay? Everybody wants to be here to serve clients, right? So, is the competition rising? Is it getting very competitive? Also, does it make sense for every firm in India, every CA firm in India, or transfer pricing firm in India, set up an office here? Like, does it really make sense, or is it very, very competitive? It's not as, a bigger opportunity as everyone looks at it. Over to you.
Yeah, here actually I want to tell you that this thing happened at a time of VAT implementation also. So at that time, actually, the so many I would say professional tax professionals came and established their firms in UAE. But yes, most of them, those were new, has winded up in 2 to 3 years and went back to India because the cost of living, cost of running the business is not, I would say, is higher as compared to India. So getting the regular business and having a goodwill that to get the business is something that works in UAE. Is that called Vasta, your connection, your networking, how it goes.
Yeah.
So here I would say at this point of time, still I would say I'm seeing that there's so many new firms are here. Those who are
Yeah.
serving to the clients, but it all depends what is your target market. So,
Yeah.
as I established firm at UHY, we have a target. We have a target. I would say companies and businesses we are targeting. We cannot go below certain level. So,
Yeah.
likewise, there is a segment. If we see that large companies, upper, I would say medium companies, small companies, and very small companies with a startup. So we cannot, I would say, serve to all. So new companies are there to fulfill the demand because demand is there. That's why supplies is there. So this is how
Yeah.
it's working. And one more interesting thing we can see right now, the firms are not setting up in UAE, even though they are connecting the firms in UAE to have a, I would say, contractual relationship wherein the back end working shall be done by them in India, and the entity which is there in UAE will become the face. So it's they are working on outsourcing model. So this is also important, I would say, good part is coming up while after the incorporation of corporate tax, that instead of setting up their firm in UAE, better to approach the UAE firms for developing their back end process.
Okay, this is very interesting. So, can you elaborate a little bit? So, are you trying to say that there are firms from India or from any part of the world who are getting clients from here, but they don't have an office or a presence here? They're still an Indian company just doing outsourcing work. So, you're saying there's a huge demand for services like this as well?
Yeah, they are. I would say even they are not asking to put their name as their business partner. They just want to remain behind the curtains. They want to work whatever the work is coming. I would say that mostly the work is in this segment is coming with respect to the accounting work, transfer pricing studies. This is the important two areas where this business is running.
So you say this is a very big opportunity to be tapped into. Do you see a lot of businesses looking at this outsourcing their work in terms of accounting, transfer pricing studies, or what other services?
Yeah, Gentle, I'll tell you, accounting is very common, it's not new. It has
Yeah.
already been there since long. But transfer pricing is that where the firms are not don't have the strength or they are not big enough to spend because transfer pricing,
Yeah.
establishing a transfer pricing department need expertise, need softwares to serve and
Yes.
conclude the report. So there are so many
Yes.
firms who are established. They have a individual, I would say, they have a clients, but when they don't have the transfer pricing expert or they don't have a softwares that are quite I would say expensive, so they look for those people who has already established in UAE and they work for them and give the report, and after getting those report they just I would say they give the white label report and they just do the branding. The UAE entity just do the branding. This is happening with, I've seen so many cases from UAE HY aspects. Definitely we are never interested in outsourcing of any of the work. We have all in-house team. Everyone is sitting here and working closely with the clients. But I would say, considering the need of the hour, where the certain firms, those who have got the client, they cannot say no. If they are not saying no, then it is been outsourced only.
Okay. Is the client comfortable if, say, a firm outsources their work, and should they be aware about it? Well, how are the UAE clients thinking?
I personally believe in most of the cases, clients are not aware that their work is being outsourced, which is, I would say, give the question on the confidentiality of the data, what they're giving. Because when we talk about the transfer pricing, that is not only the one party is connected, there all their related party, what they're paying, on what basis they are paying, how it can be justified, all is being shared. So that's what I'm saying. The question on credibility, then confidentiality of the data would come up, but that this is happening.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Amit. I mean, thanks a lot for the time. Any closing message do you have for our audience about the UAE market or about the tax market? Anything that you would like to add in and chip in?
Yeah, just please be proactive to the taxes. Means be prepared in advance. Don't just wait for the last minute that FTA may extend the timeline and they will start working on that. We are not expecting any such thing. And nowadays FTA is quite aggressive in terms of audits also. Even though number wise as compared to the taxable person is very small, but when we look at the percentage of their growth in terms of finding or recording the cases or audits is quite high now. As per the last report, they have increased their cases to 73% as compared to what they have done in 2022. So every year, if they go with this pace, definitely most of the clients may get a notice. If you're getting the notice, just reply to the clients what you have, and submit. Be transparent. And if you don't respond, then FTA has a full right, authorities have full right to close the audit on the basis of what the information they have, either by visiting your office or by taking the record from the third party. So be transparent, be I would say proactive in terms of taking any tax call. We are always available. Not me as a consultant from UHYZ, as a lobby for the taxation. I would say consultants are always available. Just take advice before taking any step on that.
Okay, interesting. This was my pointer, so you answered it. So thanks a ton, Amit. I mean, some great information that you've shared on ground, which is ungoogleable. We cannot Google it. We cannot find it on any chat GPT. So thank you so much for this. Do we have a question? Yes, Itisha, thanks a lot for being here for almost like 2 hours. Thanks a ton. We'll also make snippets of this. We'll also rerun individual videos so that, people who are interested in that specific topic can also have a look at it. But thanks so much. Amit, thanks a ton. And nice finally meeting you and joining us. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you. Take care. Thank you.